Hello. Hello, everyone. Hi, Sam. Welcome to
Hello.
JavaScript.net World. It's been a hot minute. It's been a couple weeks. Welcome.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, Happy New Year to you.
Oh
So
my
first
goodness.
time talking to you on stream this year.
I know. Happy New Year. Oh my goodness. January 25th. That's pretty sad. That's pretty sad, Sam.
No. Yeah,
It's been a busy one.
yeah, I hear you. Yeah. No, I'm glad that you are well. A lot of flu and stuff going around. Glad to have you
Yes.
back
Yeah.
and back streaming.
Yeah. I'm just apologies ahead of time if, the brain isn't here. I'm attempting to bring it, but it's kind of one of those things like you can't force it to jumpstart, but I'm trying. We'll see. I don't know. I was enjoying your stream though earlier. You've been live 2 days in a row, yeah? For all
Yeah,
the
that's
release
fun.
stuff. Yeah.
As long as we're enjoying what we're doing.
Mm. I could not agree more. I am so I feel very blessed to be here. Being
I'm glad that
with you,
I'm
Sam.
your company for your first stream back. Yeah, we missed you.
So Sam actually was telling me this was a couple weeks ago that he knows how to put Angular into a desktop app, and I was like, what? Like I was just mind blown because I'm really confused. So can we see this? Is it real, or did you just invent some sort of unicorn to tease us? And B, it works? Like, really? I'm super like I don't even understand. But although,
It,
I'm new to the desktop world, so I'm actually very lost at this point, Sam.
well, let's tackle your first question. Is it real? Yes. Does it work? Kind of. it limps a little bit, but the promise is there. And I was tweeting that. I mean, your show is called JavaScript Girl, but like I'm the person who's out of the comfort zone today. I am a complete newbie to Angular. Like I do not understand anything. I'm just pressing buttons. So I'm just gonna ask you a million questions and use this hour to just understand what I'm doing.
I am just so
Uh,
pumped to see it. Like I went and also to understand like how it starts, because like whenever I make an Angular app, I like use the CLI and I generate it and I npm install and then I serve with the Angular CLI and I'm like, does does a desktop app use the CLI? How does it? You got to show me. I'm super
yeah, I
interested in
will.
how this
And
even.
and the good thing is, it's not new. Some of the things have been around for quite some time, and the good news is, and those have been battle tested. And also the good news is it's not just for desktop. You can also do the same for mobile, which even Angular has been welcome on mobile for the longest time. But there are newer ways of doing things now. So shall we get into stuff?
I'm
Let's
so excited.
let's actually hold on. Let me share my screen. Before we start, I thought I would show you something. I came across this yesterday on the social medias, and I thought I will show you this. It's not entirely true. It's just like ridiculously funny. But when you talk about desktop and why things are confusing, where is that? Yeah, somebody had posted this on the Twitters. So I thought I will show you this. Like, why is it so complicated, especially um,
WinForms.
when
Guy
it comes
sucks,
to
but it's
Windows?
surprisingly practical.
Yes, yeah, and then I mean, some of this is a little bit, hilarious, but there's some truth to it. WinForms is 20 years old, and it's very productive, but yeah, it's a blessing and a curse. Um,
Wait, so
you,
do you think, because like on WinForms it says well supported by the .NET team, is it still
yeah,
well
yeah,
supported?
absolutely. Yeah,
Oh,
WinForms runs on the latest .NET, so absolutely it is. Now,
okay.
I don't agree with the next one too much. WPF is Windows Presentation Foundation. It's not abandoned. It's going strong, but there has been, things like the ownerships have changed. There is not a lot of like new stuff being pumped into the framework. So that's where it is. But WinForms is 20 years old. WPF is 15 years old. UWP is about 6 years old now, or 5 years old now.
Okay.
So you can see like what's the future of Windows UI, but now in maintenance mode. It's good, but also bad.
Verdict avoid.
Verdict is what. And this is where you got started with, all the .NET and, XAML stuff. And coming in fresh, like we kind of saw your enthusiasm, and it is great to kind of see things on screen and how it is. But that's the historical baggage that we keep telling you that it is great now, but let's give it some time. Let's make sure things work.
It's
It was
funny
just
because,
funny.
like, especially with the UWP, because I have notes for like kind of like short notes for myself for a lot of these, because as I'm learning them, I hear a lot of these things over and over again.
A lot of
And UWP
acronyms.
was one of those that was like avoid. I was told school, and it's funny to me because UWP is like one of the latest, right? Like if you like look at like the linearness of it,
Yes, yeah.
right? Like
UWP is
and
5, 6 years old.
okay.
Yeah. WinUI 3 is
Okay.
the latest. Yeah. So
True,
again,
true,
based
but
based on who you talk to, these things are either dead or going strong. So the reality is somewhere in the middle. So that's
I love
Windows
that. That was
desktop.
a tweet. You need to send me
That
the
was a
link to
tweet.
that so I can
Yeah,
like
I
it.
will. That
That's
was a
cute.
tweet. And hold on, where are my browsers? Anytime I say I'm about to close a window, just like shout out like Sam, no, because I tend to close the browser window that's used for streaming.
Hey
Um,
Raiders! Oh, we got some Raider love.
oh,
What were you all
Fritz
doing
is
on C Sharp's
yeah, from Fritz.
She
She
Sharp's
sharp,
channel?
she
I
sharp.
can't even with the talking. Hi Raiders! What were you all doing? It's
Hello,
good to
hello.
see
Yeah, it is
you.
raid party. Yeah, Fritz has been on pretty much all morning today. I'm guessing doing Blazor. So we are doing the other component side of Blazor, which is um,
I cannot
Angular.
wait. Sam is going to show me a desktop app, which I'm super excited about because desktop apps are like almost as cool as console apps, almost. And then he's going to show me how you can put Angular into your
Yeah.
desktop app. I know. I don't even think it's possible until we, see it with our own eyeballs, but hi
All
everybody.
right. Yeah, let's start. Yeah,
Oh, the
Spesha, good to
deep
see you.
waters
Good to
of
see you.
CSS. That's what they were
Okay, no,
doing, Phil says.
I'm scared of CSS. I'm going to stay clear. I'm going to stay clear of CSS, but just try to see like how can you bring some of the web stuff into into desktop and mobile. So let's start with Angular, okay? And everyone keeps telling me that this is the way to start Angular CLI, right? Is that the way you start as well?
It is, but now see, this is the part you got me a little baffled on here, sir. Because I feel
Okay.
like we should have started in desktop world where we're like initiate desktop app and then you take, like
No, no, I'm
what's
stepping
happening.
I'm stepping squarely into your world, and I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea, but I'm trying because I have some tools at my disposal as a desktop or a mobile developer that I think I can welcome web stuff. So I do want to start with the web stuff first, and then you tell me what I'm doing wrong, and then we're going to try to bring it
I love it. I love
over.
this plan.
Yeah,
It's good to see you
yeah.
too, Space Shot.
Good with
And
Sean. Good to see
also
you.
Code with
Yeah,
Sean is cracking me up, but yes.
yeah. Okay, so Angular CLI, is that pretty much how everybody starts? Or are there
Yes.
other ways to start an Angular app? That is the way, right?
This
Okay,
is the way.
this is the
This
way.
is it.
Right, so
Also, you have NPM
I
access?
do.
I
I
think that's
do.
going to be the only hang up is if you
No,
can node.
I do all the things that
You
JavaScript
can.
developers do. I just don't know what I'm doing. So I do all the things.
Perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
so
I'm so
I'm going
excited.
to show you a couple of projects where I have tinkered. Let's start with Angular CLI.
Goodness. Are these all your demo apps? You're such a
Yeah,
show
most of
off.
them. Then they keep breaking every week, so then I have to kind of redo. Okay, so let's look at a straight up ng new Angular app, right? So when I do that, I get a project like this that scaffolds and gives me all the things, right? And
Yes.
then I'm told that I can do ng serve, and I don't need to do the -o anymore, right? Which
Mm-mm.
is like open,
No,
I
you should be
think.
able to ng
Or
serve. I just don't know if you need to npm install anything.
No, I should have the
but
bits.
let's
If
try
not,
it.
it'll get me the bits that I need. So it's going to think for a second. So at this point, it's trying to. Is it compiling or is it bundling or both?
It's doing all of it.
Oh,
Oh, did it
okay.
work? Wow, it totally,
I
you
think
didn't
it
even
worked.
need
Yeah,
to, it's there.
yeah. I have the bits. I've been telling you. I've been pressing
Okay, listen to
buttons.
me, Sam. Listen to me right now. If I go right now and I try to make, a desktop app, the world will explode. So you coming on here and making an Angular app without anything exploding is pretty mind blowing. We're all very proud.
Oh, just don't count your chickens yet. Just wait till everything falls apart. Okay, so this is the default hello world experience, right? With Angular, like we spin up a new project and we say ng-serve, and it's running. Now, a couple of questions here before we get started. So that's all I did. And yes, I get workspaces and projects and all that stuff. My first question is when I look at like all the stuff that I get, I understand all the things. This node modules folder, it has a lot of stuff, right? So if I keep creating more and more Angular projects, is there a way to share this, or is it always per project?
No, yeah. I mean the node modules should always be like get ignored and,
Hmm.
and not shared. The thing that
Okay.
is shared is like if you collapse that, yeah, like so open package JSON.
Okay. So the packages are shared.
Yes. So they are shared. There's just not in their whole form, right? It's like more like the
Awesome.
instructions are shared so that everybody can install them on their own safe and not pass the I assume, is it the same in your world? Like if you have an
Yes.
app
Yeah.
and 'cause you guys use the NuGets, and
Yes.
is it the same? Like you're not
Well,
passing those actual NuGet packages, like you're passing just the instructions on what to install,
all right,
or
we
no?
we don't want to start up a culture war because this is going to get into like NuGet versus npm very quickly. So things are different and yet similar in some ways. So one thing we do have, and this bothers me a little bit, is like the all of the node modules that are on my dependencies. There is a way in .NET where we can put things in a global assembly, and then that cache is kind of shared between apps. Because otherwise, I'm installing those node modules. Seems like for every app. So that's
So
one.
you
But
call
beyond
you call that
that,
a global assembly?
there's a
Is that like the
global
actual
assembly cache. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
I
there's a way to
gotcha.
kind of share all of your dependencies. Oh, Full Schnabel is here. Hey, it's an Angular stream.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm way out of my comfort zone. I'm just trying to
So
learn.
Sam told me that he can put Angular in a desktop app. Like
Yeah,
he's gonna
we're
show
trying.
us.
We're trying.
I'm so excited to see this. So that's why we're here. And then Mike, no, Mike did his first stream right before this, and that's who you guys actually rated. He was killing it, doing some Angular and
Yeah.
Ionic. So super,
Ooh,
super
that's
glad to
a
see
nice
you
one too.
streaming.
Yeah.
But no, so we we made this app. Are you now going to make a desktop app and then like
No,
smush them
no, we're
together
just
like
gonna
a sandwich, or how do
we're
you?
gonna take it from here. Yeah. So
Hmm.
hold on. I think Foolish Snake package.json is more like NuGet refs. Yes, yes. There's a way to generate
Oh,
log
somebody
files
said
too in
that.
.NET now. Yeah, yeah. So I understand a little bit more now. So you got your packages and then you got your node modules. So this runs as intended. So I have my source right here, which is all of my app, with my TypeScript, my HTML, and my CSS, my components, and Angular JSON. Is this what the Angular kind of runtime reads as it's trying to build your app? Right. That's all the configuration for the app. Am I saying it right?
Yeah, no, you are. Sorry, it was funny. Fuel said he got blocked and he was asked package on a banned word, and I think it
Oh,
should
I
be
see.
like if
No, no,
if it.
you spelled nougat wrong, so maybe that's why.
How are you
Yeah.
reading it, Sam? Oh, were you reading it on
No,
the Twitch
I'm
side?
I'm on a,
Because
I'm
like,
on a separate. Yes, I'm on a
oh, I
separate
was like, where are
machine.
you reading these like sneaky comments? I can't even see.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you.
No, no, you're fine. Full. I think you just spelled nougat wrong, which is close to a word we don't want to say. Okay, so I get it now, and Angular JSON is what the Angular system is scanning while it launches your app, right? So this is a good starting point. This is just blank hello world. I haven't done anything and I can get this to work. So there are a couple of ways in which we can bring this Angular app outside of just the web. As much as
So
you
excited. I can't wait
you
to
and
see it.
hold on, don't get too excited because things are going to break. As much as you and Ed and everybody wants to do all things web, there's something to be said about native apps, desktop apps and mobile apps
Yeah.
that run
I
so
mean,
many
I am
workflows.
having a blast learning about console apps and all the power that you have. So like I feel like a desktop app is just like a sidestep away from that, It's not as cool. It's not quite a console app, but
Okay, so I'm going to take you first to this place called Progressive Web Apps, right? Obviously, because that's nothing new. It's been around. In fact, when I look around, some of the best docs that I'm finding for PWAs or PWAs is actually like the Microsoft has decent docs on exactly what a PWA is, right? And again, this is
wow.
nothing
Yeah.
new. We have been able to do this for a long time. But essentially, it is still the web canvas. You're delivering a web app. It's just a nicer citizen on desktop or on mobile. And you need to have things like a manifest file so the browser knows a few more things about your app. People can pin your app to the home screen. It can be installed, put on the taskbar or on the home screen on a mobile phone. You can
Do you know
have,
who invented the pois?
I think it was Google who started pushing
Was
it
it?
first. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And
Okay.
Microsoft is squarely behind it. A lot of the apps that you see actually in the Windows Store are PWAs.
Okay.
Apple is kind of grudgingly okay with it because it kind of goes a little bit against their monetization model, but they see the benefits, obviously. But you add, the service workers, so you can do push notifications and, data fetch and all that stuff. So PWAs are nothing new, but they're rather useful actually. So I'm an old man. You got to forgive me because I wrote down some of the commands that I use the most.
Oh my
So
gosh, yes, I love the cheat sheet.
yeah,
What is
cheat sheet,
Yeah,
right?
make it
All right. So
bigger.
this is where I started. npm install, got Angular CLI, then spun up a new
Yep.
app. Then I did
Yep.
ngserve, which I don't need to open anymore. Then apparently you can do this guy, Angular PWA. It's a what is it? It's a package that we are bringing in, but it
Yeah,
adds a
so
few
it
PWA
looks like you're
things.
running a PWA schematic to
Yeah.
Poi.
So
Here's the
yeah, let
official
me.
way. Poify
Wow.
your app.
Okay. Wi-Fi. Got it. Got it.
Poify. Which it should, when you run that, shouldn't it tell you exactly line by line like what it's adding and doing in your
Yes.
terminal?
Yes.
Or
Well,
you're on
I already did that, but I mean, I
you're
actually have
okay.
this thing open.
I
So
gotcha.
here are a few things that it looked like it does.
Oh
Okay,
my
and it's a
gosh.
good starting point. What
Mike
have you?
is on the stream. He's the one who you rated, and he's the one who
Oh,
wrote the initial
really?
code behind
Oh my
NGAD,
God!
Angular
How
PWA.
often
So
do
I
you
mean,
come
you should feel.
across?
I
This
know.
is
I know.
royalty that I'm in presence. I'm
Yep.
sorry if I'm butchering things or if I'm not understanding. I'm new here. Please forgive. I'm just trying to learn.
And then
Okay.
Coding Bandit was saying something about active XDLLs in VB6 and Legacy ASP.
Ooh.
Did any of that make sense to you?
Yes, but again, culture wars. I don't want to say ActiveX was a little damaging, but I might get into trouble.
Oh, because I don't think I've heard of ActiveX.
Oh,
Is it, what's the verdict on
Windows
ActiveX?
legacy web stuff. I in fact don't know much to honestly speak about. So yeah, Code and Bandit, please do tell if you want to dive into some of the legacy of ActiveX.
Okay,
It,
when
it
I
had
keep hearing
yeah.
this word thrown around, legacy, when people say legacy, does that mean Alyssa don't learn it, or does that just mean
No,
it's really
it's a
solid?
bad word because people call everything like an open source project that has not had contributions in the last 2 weeks. It's obsolete. It's legacy. No, it's things are going and a lot of enterprise apps are you don't call something legacy when it's running your business, right? So they're old school apps, but it's running your workflow. So let it run it. It's not legacy until it's like done and not used anymore. But anyways, like
Catherine's saying that
older school
legacy
apps.
means devs don't want to work on it anymore. It has a negative connotation.
Oh yeah.
Is that not true? Or are we getting into it? I'm sorry. I love you
No,
all.
no, that is very on point. So
Okay.
little
Okay.
little
Well, because to
digression. I'll tell
me,
you a
I'm like,
story.
oh, legacy could mean, like it's been around for a long time. So it's got a lot of good stuff in it. It's juicy, but that's not what people are saying. They say,
So I'm at a conference last week in Sandusky, Ohio. We have a thing called Code Mash where we are speaking about all the things. It's a polyglot conference, and I was talking about legacy apps and .NET,
Mhm.
and I said, if you're on .NET framework or running these old school apps, your house is not on fire. And then somebody said, yeah, my house is not on fire, but folks are not happy. So I was like, yeah, it's like a rent control situation. Uh, People can't leave, but yet they're not happy. So you have to do something for them. Maybe give them a new carpet, right?
Oh,
That's like
funny.
changing the underlying framework that you're running on. Give them new furniture, right? That's
Are
like
they
giving them
not
like,
are they not happy because it's not new stuff, or is it because it like actually
yeah,
has issues?
it's both.
Like,
It's both.
okay.
It's both. A little bit of both. But the good news is, like, you can have little islands like in your kitchen or in your living room, which has all the new stuff now, right? So you can mix and match the old with the new.
Wait. Sam, you're putting an Angular app into a desktop app. Does that mean you could put a React app in a desktop app?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Everything is puttable
Just
in the right containers. Yeah.
I cannot wait to see this magic. Why did
Okay.
so does it
All
need
right.
to be a
Let's get it.
PWA in order for this to
No.
happen?
There
Because
are
I saw that.
multiple ways. We are starting with the
Oh,
PWA
okay.
first because that's
Okay.
the very easy way, and most people should be already doing it for their web apps. Looks like you're reading the chat room. Okay. First thing is, if I do the thing that Mike did and add the PWA functionality, I get a manifest file, which is a way for the browser to know a little bit more about the app. And by default, it gives you a whole bunch of icons as assets. So people can pin your app to the home screen, to the AngularJS is the way,
I know.
to the
Gareth is
taskbar.
joking, but like I fell in love with Angular JS like back in the day.
Uh,
She was my love.
So, anyways, so you can add a lot more things to the manifest. This is just what you get, and it drops that manifest file, and then it drops a link. Looks like in the index HTML as the app is starting up to kind of have a link to the manifest, so it can tell the browser. And then let's see. Oh, there is also this thing. It's a NGSW. I'm guessing that's service worker. So
Mm.
service workers are little pieces of JavaScript that run in the background and they do fancy things for you, right? That's kind of what I understand. So you can obviously do service workers for a variety of things, but the default that you get with the PWA packet is a little bit of like prefetching or maybe caching. So if any of these assets are being served up from your web app, you can kind of prefetch these things or maybe cache them after the first one, or maybe some CSS or JavaScript. So this is the default, and there's a JavaScript file that's also dropped in. And what you get is in your Angular JSON file, you get some references. And let me find it. It's in the production build, right? In the production configuration, you have this ng service worker config path, and it points to that JSON, right? So that's all it does, but it actually sets you up nicely. Now, if I do an ng serve on this PWA, it's going to run
Mhm.
just fine,
Mhm.
but
Mhm. Mhm.
some of it's running in memory. The entire app is running in memory. It's not being built for like deployments, right? And my understanding is some of the service workers are not attached, or they don't kick in unless it's like being deployed, right? So the thing you have to do is on this, you have to do what's called an ng build with
Mhm.
like dash production or just a regular build as well. And when you do that, it builds all the files for you. So
Oh my gosh,
let's
you're still
see.
using Sublime. I love it. Oh, that's
I
so
do have
funny.
Sublime. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do have Sublime. I don't use it as much as like for hardcore C# or code edits, but JavaScript still works. So here is my Angular PWA app,
Mhm.
and in
Mhm.
my distribution, I get all of these folders or files, right? That's my licenses, HTML, manifest, that is the service worker, JSON, everything is right there. And I also get to launch this. There's a little HTTP server. There are multiple ways of spinning up. So if you have stuff that's in a folder and you want to serve it up as a web app, there are multiple ways to go about this. This HTTP server thing seems to be one of the easiest ways. So I can actually spin up this HTTP server. I don't know what that -c or -i means, but we can just spin this up just like that. and it's saying, hey, I'm up and running at port 127. So it is localhost at that. So now we can go back. It's running locally, but it's running as if it's being served up
We
from
should
a
have
thing.
like a startup war, where like each of us records with like no editing. You starting up your code application, and you like time it, and then like we like
Oh,
mash it together. So we, because Phil's saying how fast Sublime is, I'm like, I bet you my VS Code is faster, son. It's all about like what you've got installed, right? Like,
I like my Visual Studio. Lets me go and get coffee while I'm launching it. Can't be that. Okay, so we get the same Angular app, but this one has a few more bells and whistles to it. And that's because, see, I'm learning the web tricks here. I can bring up my dev tools and actually, I was looking at this. So in my application and my service worker, you see that guy? That is the ng's service worker.js file that
You
is
gotta
up
tell me
and
what this like
running.
zoom trick is, where you've got like two
Oh,
mouses,
this
two
is
mices.
this is in accessibility in Mac, and it's real nice. It's command.
Talking about like option
Shortcut.
scrolling when you like.
Yeah,
No,
this
that doesn't
one. I do this one.
Oh.
Yeah, command scroll, so I can do that and that. It's real nice. Doesn't work with every shared monitor, but works for the most part.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Vim
because
is
it was
cool.
super helpful as you
Yeah.
pointing out things. I'm like, this is nice. This is very nice.
Somebody made Fritz code in Vim today. That is awesome.
Oh my god, yes! I need to go and see. Like, I wonder if there's a clip of that coding bandit, because that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
that'd be
Vim
hilarious.
is cool. I'm sorry. Anytime I see someone, my husband just walked by and kind of made this sad noise when he heard me say that. Anytime I see someone who's like in Vim, I'm like, oh my god, that person's so cool. Like, it just, I don't know, it just is. It's
Well,
like the
there's
next
the
level.
whole there's the whole joke that you can't exit Vim. So once you're in it, you're in it forever.
That's funny. I haven't heard that one.
Okay, but because I have that service worker running, and this is local, but it's running within a few things. You see that little guy here? This is what you get by default
Install
in
your
Chrome.
Angular Poi.
Yeah. So you can do more things, like in your app. You can like do like a little pop-up or something that says, hey, I can be installed. So I'll go ahead and install it. I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go.
I'm so
but
scared. Are you scared? I'm scared.
no,
What's
it's
gonna
the
happen?
same app, right? See, it's running right now on my
I
taskbar.
know, but then
It is
once
the
we're outside of the
same.
browser, I kind of start to hyperventilate a little bit. So,
Well, if you lose connection and if your Poi is not meant to have offline storage and all those things, it's going to fall flat on its face. But this is nothing but a browser just in a shell. Like, you're just taking away the Chrome and it's just running on browser, right? So this is like running on desktop 101, right?
is a Dvorak keyboard? Is that instead of the ASDF? Is that like one of the keyboards that are like actually
Wait,
organized for
what
how we type and not based on just random keyboard that we all got stuck with?
Oh, I don't know what that
You don't
is.
know?
No,
Because
it's
have you
different
heard of
key layout.
those
Okay.
keyboards?
No,
Where
no.
different, where it's like it's supposed to be essentially like the actual letters that we use most often versus, I don't remember the history behind the normal keyboard, but I've always wanted to do it.
So anyways, so we can do this, right? This is present day reality, nothing special going on. I can deploy anything as a PWA. With me so far? That's like the
Yeah,
first
I was just trying to
way
figure
of
out if you're
doing it.
using like, are you using like Oh My ZSH or anything? Like, what's the
What,
coloring
what?
here for your
What?
terminal? I just didn't know if you had anything fancy
My
going on,
terminal.
because you got, yeah, see how it's fancy.
No, it's just default. I just have like an emoji because why not?
But the rest is
Otherwise,
default? This is like what it
yeah,
looks like by default?
well, it's
Oh,
it's a
oh my
ZSH
goodness.
terminal. It's not
Aha!
not Bash.
Aha!
Yeah,
I caught you. I caught you trying to be sneaky.
yeah.
Okay. So we have our Poi and it is running outside of the
Poi works.
browser.
Yeah, so Poi works on mobile as well, works on Windows, works on Mac. Nothing special, but it works. The next option, and this has been around for 7-8 years now. I'm hindered my slow thought process, not my keyboard.
It's my brain actually that's the holdup here. I like need to start using that line. You know, people like look at me and they're like, "What's the holdup?" It's the brain. The brain is.
Yeah, the hardware is fine. You just stop thinking at times.
Oh
All right.
gosh.
Next option is Electron, right? And this is as battle tested as it gets. And this is like 10 years old now. But it was the first time we started putting web assets, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, bundle it all together, put it in an app package, and throw it on the app stores or run it on desktop, right? And if you look at like some of the apps that are built with Electron, like this is what we use every single day, right? Your Slack, your Figma, your Teams, your VS Code, everything is an Electron app, and it's obviously works well. Catherine is saying the standard keyboard layout today.
Yeah, did you see that?
Yeah.
A holdover from the typewriter keyboards when they would stick. The
I
keys
had
would
heard
stick.
about that. Yeah.
You gotta love it. There's so many things.
Yeah.
There's so many things like that in life, though, that aren't designed with like today's world in mind. It's just like this thing that's like persisted. Electron is the salt of the earth, Fuel said.
Oh boy, yes, yeah, there's some truth to it. It's like maybe a bitter pill, but the reality is it works. And all of you use VS Code. I would suggest that the biggest accomplishment, not suggest, but I would guess that the biggest accomplishment that the VS Code team has done is how lightweight and in terms of the memory footprint it can be when you're running so many extensions and so many different types of apps. Because like other things will slow you down. Like you can see the Chrome processes going and the memory that it's chewing through, but VS Code is very, very light to this day.
I mean, it's been eye-opening as I like start using Visual Studio on a Windows instead, and like I have to wait for things, or I might have too many like servers running at once, so my machine would get chuggy, and I'd be like, "I'm sorry, you want me to stop one of my what?" Like, I'm sorry, wait, you can't handle this? So yeah, it was very surprising to me coming from the VS Code world where I can just spin whatever up and it's done.
I suppose like VS Code can get a little bit bulky, like Fullschnabel is saying it's 1 gig, which is quite a bit. Yes, OmniSharp and not some of the other C# things will load it up.
I think we need a screenshot of his extensions.
But it still works, and it works remarkably well, being an Electron app. But again, this is nothing new, and we can do this fairly easily. So let me go up one level and bring you back down to, I think it's called Angular Electron. Let's do a clear, and we are going to pull up code again. Now, what did I do in this one? And again, since I'm going to forget, it is this thing. So it's an npm install on top of a CLI app to say, no, not that one. It is this one, npm install Electron latest, right? So we are saying just for this app, can you get me the Electron packages so I can kind of move everything together, smash them together into an app package that I can load. So what does that do?
What's going to happen?
Well, it drops a few packages in here, obviously, but everything Electron. So here's what Electron is doing, right? Straight out of the gate. It is very different from what I'm going to show you next with, some of the Maui stuff, some of the web views.
Electron, you're going to show us Maui?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Okay. So here are two things. Electron doesn't tell you up front, but it is, again, a blessing and a curse. So what Electron does is it gives you two things for every app. It'll give you Node.js, because that's the runtime for the app. And it actually ships with a thin container of Chromium, which is the browser dev engine, right, for the browser. And that gives you like a stable canvas to build your app on, and how you run your app and where you're rendering things. It is very, very stable. But the downside is you are shipping two big things inside of your app. So even if you do like a Hello World Electron app, it's not the thinnest thing in the world, because it has those bits and pieces in it. And also your Chromium that you're shipping as a part of your app, that is something you are responsible for, updating, right? So next time you have a app update based on Electron's packages, you might deliver an update to the operating systems, not the operating system, but just the browser that's as a part of your app itself. If that makes sense. right? So it's not depending on the operating system's browser. It's shipping its own browser per se. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
So what we are doing here is
So what
again,
you're saying is it doesn't count as a desktop app.
No, it does. It is, well, define a desktop app, right? At this point.
Well, I mean, do you think a desktop app needs to depend on the system, like, or like if it ships with its own mini browser that counts?
I think it counts. So a desktop app, in my opinion, should not be sandboxed, because you're running on desktop. You're not on the web anymore, and you should have access to native APIs, on whichever platform that you're on, and you should be able to do desktopy things like run like a little service worker, or like a process that is outside of your web sandbox, be able to do push notifications, or like things in the taskbar, be able to reach other processes. So things that are more native per se. But I don't mind that it ships with a browser engine. It just gives you like a consistent thing. So here's how we get started with Electron. So essentially, we are newing up a browser window, because essentially it is just a shell. It's going to hold the browser, and it's going to go off a certain dimension that you give it, like this one here. I'm just creating a height and a width for my browser window. And all I'm saying is, when
standardized for desktops apps? No, there's no
like, you can do whatever. No,
make it this big. No, I need numbers, Sam. I need you to tell me the number.
Well, so this is assuming somebody's at least that resolution and up, right? So if you're 1920 by 1080, that's 1080p. Hopefully you're not under that. If you're under, then you might want to make your browser window even smaller, but that doesn't actually dictate how your app looks, because the browser window is going to show whatever the browser app is, right? So if the web fonts are too small, it's still going to read small. Yeah.
But it's not on the web anymore, so
it is on the web,
right?
Desktopify, I like that. So here's what we're doing. When the app loads up, we're going to launch that browser, and we're going to ask the app or the shell to load up this particular thing. That feels familiar? That's just the distribution, right? So we're going to build our Angular app, and we're going to say launch that index.html page within that browser window. That's all there is to it, right? And there are things like when the window closes, go ahead and shut down the app, and so on. So the package.json has, well, actually, let's look at Angular JSON. Somewhere it has the startup to be. I'm going to try where my app.js is.
I just realized you're on a Mac, so you're actually going to show us Maui on a Mac.
Yeah, and on Windows as well. Why not? Hold on. Where is app being plugged in? Maybe it's in.
You're talking about like the
maybe
root?
It's in the modules. Yeah, where's the base module? Where's that stay? App modules?
So yes, but also if you are you wanting like the actual HTML?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to get to like this app.js is hooked up somewhere, or maybe it's in my Angular JSON.
Well, if you go back to that last one, it said app.js, and I think it was package.json.
This? Oh, package.json.
That one,
what did it say?
On main
right here.
Yeah.
You're
talking about that?
Yeah, right there. Yes. So I don't know what it does.
Although
again, this is
Mike is pointing. He said we should go to main.ts. Can you open up main.ts? It's underneath the index file.
Platform environment. No, I think it's just trying to launch the app, and I think this is the glue that holds it together. So I mean, this is from Electron's docs. So what there is here is one extra startup script that says, when I say start Electron, go ahead and do an ng build anyways, right? So go ahead and ng build. That's going to give us the dist and all the files that are ready for deployment. And then also, I don't know what this one exactly does. Electron dot essentially probably just brings up the shell. And that's all we need, because then the shell knows how to load up index.html, right? I think. So let's run this. npm start run start Electron. All right. So we're going to go back here and do that. So at this point, it's going to do that ng build first. So nothing out of ordinary. It's doing an Angular app build, and Angular has no play in this. Electron is just giving it that shell. So this is Angular trying to bundle it up. and now it's done. But except instead of going to the browser, app.js comes in and says, no, I got a browser window. Here's the dimensions, and here's the app that's running inside of your, the shell. Makes
Mike
sense?
was saying that on his he started using Ionic, but that he was really debating using Maui, and now my
Oh,
brain really hurts because are those like those aren't competitive?
no,
Those don't do this.
they're
What?
sort of competitors. Ionic is for folks who want to do web stuff. Maui is for folks who want to do .NET stuff, pretty much.
Okay.
So in a way,
Okay.
it lets you do similar things.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So you did
does this
the
make sense?
npm run with the Electron bit, and now
Yep.
it is.
It's the same Angular app now running inside of this little shell, but this is not a PWA. And this has a few more things than PWAs will have. PWAs are essentially just a web sandbox. This will let you go out of process a little bit, which again, I don't have the code to show you, but Electron gives you some deep integrations with the host OS when you're running.
Oh, okay.
Now, here's the thing that really made me happy to see. Hold on, can I close this? Yeah. In my code, they also had documentation on this one here. So remember how I said we are shipping the Chromium engine? Now, as a part of it, since we are shipping a full-blown browser, we also have DevTools, right? So in the app window, which is the shell, I could say, bring up the DevTools as well, right? How crazy is that? Because now I can do the same start, and you're going to see the same app, but since we ship the browser, we can actually tinker with the app in the app itself.
Do desktop apps outside of Electron have dev tools? Is that a thing?
No.
Okay. There's not like a right click inspect.
No, because we're going to get into web views, and that's just a very thin layer that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you and Ed kept throwing that word around this morning, and I was like, maybe you should define what you're talking about. What are you talking about?
This I find remarkable. Like, that's my app and that's my DevTools, right? So how cool is that? Like, I can click around and do all the DevTooly things right here inside my app, just like shipping the whole browser.
I don't know. How do you debug things in desktop then if you don't have DevTools?
Well, you debug through your code, and there might not be DevTools, but we have similar things. Well, when we are building up a visual tree, every UI is a visual tree, right? So we have tools that lets you kind of click around and change properties. So we have things built in like Visual Studio or other, Mac development as well, where you can do similar things. So DevTools wasn't like an idea out of nowhere. Desktop apps have actually been doing it for some time, so we just brought it over to the web.
Okay. Oh yeah, Phil's saying you have a debugger.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Debug.WriteLine. That's fascinating to me.
This makes sense.
Before the inspector. Now that is something to really boggle the mind.
You write everything to console. You write to logs. That's how you know. That's how you debug in production.
Okay, so this is now an Electron app. You said it's a step further than a PWA.
Yep.
Gives us a little bit more. What do you call it, like base access to things?
Native access, for the host OS that you're running on. Okay, but still Angular on desktop, right?
Gareth is yelling no at us and also resharper. What was that?
Well, both things. So the no is Electron gets a little bit of negative feedback because of maybe the way it does some things. It's a little heavy-handed, but again, it works. It's battle tested as we use those apps every single day. And
you say heavy-handed, do you mean like because it's giving us all the DevTool glory, or what do you mean by that?
It's shipping Node.js and Chromium with it, and so you may have to be a little careful, like this one here. If I bring you back, actually, hold on. Let me kill this. If I go back here,
I feel like we need to have a show on ActiveX. I just feel like it needs to.
And I have no idea how to talk about it, but ActiveX Fuel Sample, you can come and talk about it. All right, you see this app window? you may want to be careful not to spin up too
Oh,
many of these things, because every one of this is a cron process, right? It's a shell, and it's going to load up a thing, right? So if you are creating a desktop app, which traditionally a lot of enterprises have like the multi-window support, where they have different windows of the app, where, like air traffic dispatchers, they have like one window with weather, one window with flights, just kind of pinned to like huge monitors. You may not want to do that with an Electron app, because you're going to just sit there and just chug and take up all the memory.
Oh, really? It's bad? It's bad news bears? Because
No,
I was kind of under the impression that the way tech is nowadays, I can really do no harm. Just kind of run all the things.
We can shoot ourselves in the foot. But as long as it gives you all the right ammunition, just don't do the wrong things with it, right? And if you watch your footprint a little bit and in how you're spinning up processes, this is fine. And like I said, this is all VS Code. This right here is an Electron app. How much more proof do you need that it works, right? But
Codephobia said that. Yeah. Oh, the 50 to 60 MB download without coding one line can make people sad.
Yes, it does. And that's because it's shipping those things with it, right? So there's
Gareth
just no way
is also suggesting an incredible show, and if you don't watch it, I'm going to sign you up personally, Gareth, to have that show with me. So you say these amazing things like browser in a spreadsheet, and I kind of feel like I need to see it.
Oh boy. Yes. Okay, so this is Electron. Makes sense so far?
Yes.
Now let's. So far we have just done standard Angular, which begs the next question: what if you are actually building Angular projects and you start making your own components, or you are bringing in other components like some of the ones that you deal with, right? So let me try to remember what I called it. Angular Kendo, right? You know where I'm going with this.
So many apps.
So many apps. Okay. So the obvious question is, when we are inviting web to the desktop, what happens to our components, right? So tell me if I'm doing wrong.
That's your obvious question. My obvious question is, how is this weird marriage even going to work? But yes, the components.
The components. That's the first step of your marriage. Like, does your promise hold up? Okay, so what I have done here is hold on, because I had other questions as well. So let me fire away what my questions are, and then you can tell me what I'm doing wrong. Now I'm squarely in Alyssa's territory here. All right, so I have a straight up docs and demos. I have an Angular app. Where are my docs? First steps. Okay. So I did npm install, and I did. No, wait a second. Where's the thing where I add the Kendo bits to it?
Here, let me send you this link, because this is my link.
Oh, this is this one here, right? So it's an
you found
ng
it?
add.
You got it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the one component that I'm using. So these are like scoped npm packages, right? When I'm bringing in like a thing here. So what I have brought
it's only going to have, because like each, let me show you real quick. Let me share a screen with you. So this is the, I use the developer docs, Angular-UI-develop, just so it's on the latest. But see these side components here? So whenever you ng add, you're going to like ng add one of these.
One specific thing.
It's like an umbrella, right? And so like if we went and we ng add drop downs, well, that's going to go ahead and install and give us access to autocomplete, combo box, drop down list, etc. Right? Because they had to essentially package them up in a safe way, so you're not installing. We've like got over 100 components now. So yes, that is the. I'm gonna stop screen sharing so that you can start. Okay, but yes, so the grid should have some things in it, like for instance, I think the button is like available now through the grid.
Right.
But yes.
I'm
So
trying to
you just did
find
you run that
something.
ng add command?
No, I didn't do the grid,
Mhm.
but I chose like the simplest thing I could find. And
Mm.
I did it in app component.html, which I'm guessing I probably should not. But I don't know when this gets rewritten, but sounds like it's an app.
So
Oh,
Thindle was asking for looking at all the wonderful things Telerik released yesterday. So we have actually been doing release streams all week. Right now, we're doing JavaScript Girl and I in a .NET world, and I'm having Sam show us because he mentioned a couple weeks back to me that it was possible to put Angular in a desktop app. So he is showing me a couple renditions of this, how it would be done. And the first one he just showed was with with Electron and a PWA. And now he's talking about what happens to your components. So that's why we're pulling up our components to talk
so
about.
yes, so Tyndall, we are doing that every like morning, America's time. So yesterday was mobile and desktop. Today was all
Mm.
things web, and tomorrow will be all things. Is it Angular first tomorrow, or is it React first?
React's tomorrow, and
React's
then
tomorrow
Thursday is Angular. We'll
is
be doing
Angular,
some
and then
Angular
Friday
updates.
is productivity with reporting, testings,
Hmm.
Fiddler, and all those things.
Fuel's getting sassy, and I feel like there's still a need for Maui. Okay, because I'm getting excited about
Mhm.
Maui, and you can't just promise something and then take it away and say, "Haha,
It's
here's Electron." Right? No, nobody wants
it's
that.
it's very different. The Electron and Maui will both get you on desktop, but the approach could not be more
I know, and
different.
that's the exciting thing. I think that's why people, and I'm just speaking from the whole noobish crowd here, are really excited because Maui sounds spicy. So just
Well, spicy often gives you heartburn, as you know. So you just have to watch out what you're doing a little bit.
oh, Sam.
Okay. So I have this app. Oh, and actually didn't show you what I did. So I did the barcode, right? So right here in app HTML, I can bring in Kendo barcode, and I'm not doing anything here. I'm just saying that's the value, that's the barcode, that's it, right? Um, and it did its
Chat's
work.
cracking me up. I love you guys.
Engagement, yes. Localhost 4200 is where it's working. So let's go to localhost 4200, right?
Okay,
Okay,
question. So
yes.
desktop apps don't have a local host. Or they do. Or no, they don't.
No, they don't. No. But this is not desktop
Hmm.
yet. This is just
No, not
running
yet. But I was just
in browser.
pondering, like let's say we had an imaginary Maui app in front of us.
Hmm.
They don't get
Why imaginary?
addresses.
Let's do it.
Well, okay, but what about? I guess there's still. Here's what I'm getting at. Even though there's no browser, there's still like a port on your machine, right? Like it
So
still exists
there is a
somehow.
browser. There is absolutely a browser, without which none of this is going to work, right?
Oh,
Okay.
file system relative URLs. See,
Yeah.
that sounds okay. I'm with you
Yeah,
now.
it's
Okay.
it's HTML, CSS, JavaScript, what we have been doing forever. Nothing new here. But here's what I wanted to show you. Like, I am absolutely a newbie and I don't know what I'm doing, but I can just bring in that one ng scoped thing, and I can have a barcode, which is not kind of inbuilt in Angular. So that is a Kendo UI barcode. That's all rendered with that just one line of code, right? Just Kendo barcode. And
Hmm.
one quick question here for Alyssa, because I just don't know what I'm doing. This Kendo barcode, why can I not self-close? Like I tried closing it right here. There are no child elements, but it really got angry at me.
I know. I heard
So
you talking about that, and
yeah.
I don't know why you'd want to. I personally feel like we need to get rid of all self-closing elements. Like I think everything
Why?
should have because because most elements in HTML have a closing tag. I don't know why somebody was like, see that image over there? Let's make it stop. Like, but yeah, I get it. Like it doesn't have the same amount of
Yeah.
like internal content that other things do, but just the consistency really bothers me. So I feel like I'm on team closing tag.
Yeah. Okay. I won't argue
But
that with you, but I was just curious. Though. I mean, if I didn't have child elements, why do I need to?
so
Okay.
I think honestly, it's just how because I'm pretty sure Kendo UI could have made it self closing if they wanted, right? Like they just
Yeah.
chose to. be consistent with the rest of the HTML spec. I don't know. I really wish Catherine was here. I know she's always got these tidbits as to why things are the way they are, and she seems to be very calm about it too. So I'm gonna make her tell us. Thindle wants you to stop channeling your inner me.
my inner me is just all the pain of doing software dev for so long.
Listen, XHTML was not.
Oh no! Don't go there! Don't go there, foolish devil. It was my first web job was pulling
You didn't
up.
Like it? You didn't have fun?
No, it was fine, but then on the .NET world, we did a weird thing where I'm drawing a blank here. Like we would pull up a style sheet and try to marry up the elements in an XHTML, and it was like a pain to debug.
Aztec said that closing tags are for people who count their lines of code as progress. Aztec, you sound like someone who would also like CoffeeScript, or like Haml. So just putting that out there.
I wrote my entire app is done in like 10 lines. There's nobody can read it, but it's done in 10 lines. Anyways,
so yes, you did add a component.
I just did one barcode, right? And I can render a Kendo barcode.
Can you just change the value real quick? I haven't played around with the barcode. Can you change the value? Does it modify it based on what's the attribute you're just plopping in there? Where did it go? Yeah, right there.
I have no idea.
Let's do it. Oh, are you gonna make it say something? Shut up. That's so cool.
And I may need to, because I had killed the app, so I may need to.
Did you kill it?
Yeah, I did.
How do you know where you are? It's so confusing. You're like, what project are we in? I don't know. Oh, you're at your base?
Yeah, I was at my base. Oh, no, okay. That's bad. Hold on. No, I did the right thing. I switched into Angular Kendo, that project. Yeah, this should fire back up.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see a Maui app. You gotta do it next.
4,200 people ask for it.
Ooh, Braco, blah, 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 said, link about closing tags with a list of what can be used without closing tags. Nice.
All right, Alyssa, the barcode doesn't like you, or?
I didn't know you could put, I thought it had to be numbers. Does it have?
Maybe.
Or maybe because it's that type of EAN8. It has to
it's just
match a certain.
Probably. Just change it and
wait. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. Way to break all the barcodes in the world. That's all I'm saying.
What did I do? Because 404 barcode is the value. Can I do a serve? And this will be the last thing. Then we'll switch to Maui. Okay.
So I was reading chat. Aztec was saying, I guess that he's too cool for CoffeeScript and F#. I'm trying to.
Foolish Neville is also into F#. Yeah, these folks who do the one-off things are very loud, and that's for good reason.
So me and Layla were thinking of doing F# February, where that's what we focus on in February. I just don't really. I feel like there's like a main concept I'm missing. Anytime I look at an F# app and I'm like. And I try to do something, and Layla goes, "No, you can't do that here." And I'm like,
"Yeah, ask the 3 people in the world to do it." No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay.
Mike said February's next week. Yes, we are all aware of how late in game it is. Okay.
Okay, I have broken something here with the barcode.
Oh, we'll fix it. We'll fix it later. I'm gonna figure. I need to study up on what the types are and the encoding, because you're right. I'm sure we're just messing with. Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, is that Perl?
What is that?
He says it's Perl. Almost spicy.
All right, now let's talk about the thing that all of you have been asking. So let me share my pane. So this thing is out.
You mean the magic?
The magic and the pain that comes with it. So I'll rehash a little bit, because we were just talking about it early in the morning with the stream. But again, for folks who have not done anything, this is .NET Maui. It's still in preview, so please don't go write production apps with it. The tooling is very broken in few places, but it's enough for you to tinker. This is squarely for .NET devs, right? So I think Mike was talking about it before. Like, if you want to do the web stuff, go do web stuff, go do JavaScript, go do Ionic and other things. But if you want to do .NET and you still want to go cross-platform, then this is probably your best bet going in. This is actually an evolution of what was called Xamarin or Xamarin Forms, but that only got you to iOS or Android. But this one here gets you to Mac and Windows as well. So you get a little bit more platform reach, and it's nice. So
I guess that's like the confusing part, though, because you package it and then you still have to ship it per each different place that you're going, right? Like, because for instance, I hear things on the Apple Store. I don't know what it's called. App Store is painful to get up there.
No,
so
not bad. It's not bad. But yes, you're right. Every one of these four things has different guidelines on how you package your apps, how you distribute them, right? So absolutely, it tries to help a little bit, but you have to do some of the work by itself. So when you're doing iOS or Android, you're getting an abstraction, so you can call those native APIs, and then the app is actually multi-targeted. So it really is a single code base, and it has platforms for different folders, and it does know how to grab the right resources and do the build for each platform. The way it's reaching Windows is, let's go back to the graphic that we saw, right?
There's a graphic. What? Oh, right.
This funny thing. So there are four ways to reach Windows. It's actually choosing this one, which is the latest one, WinUI 3. So thankfully, Maui is not rediscovering the wheel. It's actually using well-established things to get to Windows.
Those four aren't, that's not the end all be all list, right? Like, I thought there was more. There's always more ways. Like, there's things missing off of that list, right?
Oh, you're getting to the juicy bits here. All right. So if you click on the supported platforms, you're going to see a few more things here. All right. You may have heard about this thing called Tizen, which is made by Samsung. If you have a Samsung fridge or a TV, it's running Tizen, and you can run Maui apps on Tizen.
Shut up.
No, I have run app on my TV. It's not that hard to deploy. Yeah, you just need to like take your laptop and just like stick in a USB to the back of the TV, and then you can deploy. It's not that bad.
I mean, like, really, if you can stick a USB in it, you can really do whatever you want. Like,
and this one here is getting talked about a lot. This is not official, and it'll most likely be by the community for now, because even somebody like Microsoft has boundaries on their engineering budget.
Do you know how cool that would be? Like, Coding Bandit's talking about how they have a Samsung fridge with a screen.
Yeah.
And I know Mike is right now making, like on his stream, he was making an app that like log his food. So you know how cool that'd be to like put an app that you wrote like up on your fridge? That's so fun. I love it.
Think about like your creds with kids. Like, look, I made the app that's running
your kid cred. Your kid cred's gonna go through the roof with Maui.
So anyways, it is these four. Linux is not going to be out when Maui ships, which will be sometime. No. Again, they have to go for the mass first. Like between these four, they did some analysis, and it's like 95% of apps that run on people's devices are on these four. So they're targeting the ones that matter the most, essentially. Yeah. Okay. So Windows is through WinUI, and Mac OS is through this little guy called Mac Catalyst. Right? You may have heard of this. So Apple.
I have heard of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Apple wants your iPad apps to run on the Mac, because the Mac desktop store is becoming like a niche store. Few people want to write for it, so they want your iPad apps to run. So this is the little bridge between UIKit and AppKit, and it's actually really nice. What happened?
Cophobia said fridges get support before. God, it's too good.
No, I have a lot of respect for folks who run Linux as their main desktop. You don't have much.
Fuel is saying that, but 2022 is the year of the Linux desktop. Is that like a thing now?
Again, for the 5 people. No, I'm being too sassy here, but no, absolutely. Do your thing. If Linux is what gives you power, go for it. Hey, VS Code runs beautifully on Linux. Electron runs beautifully on Linux, right? So You got it.
Mm.
So this is nice, and I think there are like half a dozen Apple iPad apps that are actually now available on the not half a dozen, like probably 2 dozen, which are actually also on the Mac desktop store. So it's nice. They do a little bit of math to figure out the interface changes and
Mm.
give you access to the same Mac things that you want. So this is real nice, and this is exactly what actually Maui is using to get to Mac, because Maui knows
So
how
I'm
to get to
still
iOS.
confused. Is it code? Is it what is this Mac Catalyst? Is it a way to
It's a
port?
shim. Yeah, it's a shim.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it
Okay.
like envision a big iPad, and if you just take the same app and just like stick it in on a Mac desktop, you have suddenly much more real estate, and your app has been rendered on a canvas that is not native to Mac, but it can still make the bridge and render the same app kit things on UI kit. Or
Okay.
the other way around, and it gives you some Mac specific APIs that you don't have on iOS. So
Surely
I
this
don't
isn't
know.
what you're
Yeah.
saying though, right? Like what Fuel's saying? That's not
So
what
if you
you're
want a desktop
saying.
app with maximum reach, Electron is the way I go to. Yes, actually, I will agree.
What?
Yes, yes,
What?
but
What?
here's the thing: like when you say maximum reach, like if you want deep integrations with your desktop app, right? If you want to
Mm.
go out of process and if you want to have all kinds of desktopy things,
Yeah.
then Electron is still probably your best bet because it
Wait,
it
it
has
is?
that
Because I thought you
concept.
were gonna go on the opposite direction.
I
Why are
will,
you
because
saying
most
these things?
apps actually don't need that kind of integration, right? So where Maui is
Mm.
coming in is with the web view, and it's very thin, it's very lightweight. It is squarely dependent on the user to update their own browser.
Oh, this is like
So,
mind blowing. I thought Maui was like
mhm,
most base. I am touching your hardware bits. You're saying
no,
it's not?
no.
It's oh.
Well, it is. If you come in with default Maui, which is that's all .NET, that has strong, native bindings. But when you bring in a web view to run Angular, to run Blazor, to run React,
Yes.
that is
Yes.
just a very thin shim. That's just a web view.
So when you say web view, you mean a Maui tiddly bit that allows you to do webby things. Yes? Like, is it in the Maui docs?
Let me show you. Let
um,
me show you. Uh, Actually, let me wipe out something I have, and then I'll share it in the same directory.
yeah.
So
Mike said, "Are
let's
you talking about a Maui shell hosting a spa web app? Is that what you're talking about?"
Yes, yes, kind of, but it doesn't even need to be a spa, right? It can be just any web app. It just doesn't care.
We're gonna need to see it. We're gonna need to
All
see
right,
it.
all
Can
right,
you
all right,
show
all
us
right.
this?
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying. So I'm going to wipe that
Also,
out.
is this like some sort of new look at that file system. It looks fancy and
What
shiny. Mine
file
doesn't look
system?
like that.
This?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Finder. Good old Finder.
I don't think my Finder looks like that. I feel like I'm really out of date.
No, it's not. And in fact, I'm not even on macOS Monterey because our IT has some issues they're trying to figure out. So that's not fun. Okay, so let's go into Maui Blazor, and so now you're talking .NET. Now we're talking on top of .NET. So if I do a .NET, what happened? Chat room being
Someone said
funny.
that it looks like
Old
an old
Finder.
Finder.
It is
And
an
I'm
old Finder, yes.
Mhm.
All right. When I do .NET version, it's going to tell you that I'm running on .NET 6, right? And when I do a .NET new, so
Which is
these are the same.
terrifying because we were all comfortable and happy with our 5, and now you're just making us go to 6.
Well, we have already started work on 7, so yeah, I hate to break it, but it's going to be every year now. But yeah, so we're running on 6, and if
What did you
you're
just
on
list out?
Windows, I did a .NET new, right? So if you wanted to start a
Mm,
new .NET app, these are your possibilities. These are all the
God.
templates.
No
These are the
wonder
same
it's
ones
so
that
hard to
you
get
used.
into .NET. It's terrifying.
Oh, and Fritz is here. We love 6, .NET 6. Yes. Yeah,
Do
.NET
you,
6 is pretty good.
Fritz? Because I hear that 5 was pretty cool. Okay.
No, 5 is cool. Um, we don't want to go back in history because that's easily another like 2 hour show. And in fact, like .NET's 20-year anniversary is coming up in February, and people are pretty stoked about
Listen,
that. I
I
think
just
Fritz.
got here and I was getting comfy with 5, and I feel like You're taking something away from me, so I
Move my cheese.
refuse.
Okay.
I refuse. Yes, I need my old moldy cheese.
So do this, folks. Go on YouTube and look up Fritz on the history of how we went from .NET Framework to just .NET, and he kind of walks you through nicely because there's a lot of history that we are sitting on framework to .NET Core to 3.1 to 5 and to 6. So all the things.
Do
6
you
is the
see
new
what
5.
Coding Bandit said?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and 7 is already the new 6. It is.
Yeah, you keep
That's how it
mentioning
goes.
7. You got to get me on board with 6 before you can
No,
just
yeah,
calm down a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah.
So these are all of the things that you can
All of the things that you can
generate.
start with, all of the things that in there is iOS, and there is Mac, and there is Blazor, and all the ASP.NET stuff,
So, question.
Windows projects.
This
Yes.
morning I saw Mike on his stream and he made an Ionic app, and one of the like parameters you could pass was like, I don't remember, it was like Ionic new tabs, and like it used a tabs template to like make the app have tabs.
Mhm.
So are templates a thing with these,
Yeah.
or
No, I mean, they are. I mean, these are all templates, and then within the templates, you can have more templates. For example,
okay.
if we look at the Xamarin World, which is essentially now in fact, let me show you the latest .NET bits, .NET Maui bits, right? So the latest .NET Maui is .NET Maui 12, is we are sitting
Get
on.
it, Thindle. Get it. Thindle said
They
he's
have
migrating
already.
right now. He's not going to wait another
Oh,
minute.
there you go. Upgrade a system. That's the way to go. Okay, so Xamarin Forms, for example, had this concept of what's called a shell. So when you start an app, it just gives you a nicer starting point. So some of the things that you kind of do anyways, like having a tab strip, having navigation between your views,
Yeah.
that's kind of built in, right? So now that's also welcome in .NET Maui. In fact, they put out a podcast app which uses what's called the shell. So these are some of the base templates, and then within the templates, you have different variations of how you want to start up your app.
So
Does that make
shell
sense?
is a template, or shell is like body.
Shell is a template. It's part of a template that gives you the shell, but you don't have to do the shell. You can just start with just a regular body type,
Well, so
kind of
when
a
we
blank
generate a
application.
Maui app, will it have shell in it, or do we have the option of plopping shell in it?
You have the option of plopping it in, and I
Gotcha.
think so. The
Okay.
shell thing may be in the works. Let me see.
Oh, you
Um,
think it's gonna like list it out here or something?
yeah, because they don't have it as a preview
Oh.
out yet, but it should be coming. Because like these views, normally they just give you a standard blank page, but I'm sure they will have a
Oh,
shell
really?
thing. Yeah.
Like, because you know how whenever we made Angular and it was like all that fun, it was like, resources and links and stuff. That's not normal. Like, that's not what you normally, have a
Not following.
logo and, well, because
No, no,
we
you get
generated.
all of that. Yeah, you get all of
Oh, okay.
that. If you're looking
Oh.
for logo and like how like app
Well, because you
configuration, you
said
get
it was
all of that.
blank, and I'm like, that'd be super intimidating. You just like
No,
make
no,
a new
no.
app, and
Like
there's absolutely nothing.
yeah, no, blank as in like there are not a lot of pages for you to
Oh,
navigate.
okay.
It's just like one page, right? All right, so I'm going to use this thing called Maui Blazor, right? This is the project. I mean, you can do a straight up Maui, which is this guy. This is
What's the
squarely
difference
.NET.
between those again?
So
Squarely
Maui is all things
.NET.
.NET. It's pure
Mhm.
.NET, right?
Yeah,
And
but
you're
Blazor's
writing
also
.NET
.NET, so it's like,
in a way, but Blazor is also for web. This is for .NET developers who do mobile and desktop. This is for .NET devs who do web stuff. Blazor is very much web. It is still C sharp. Everything is C sharp, but
would
am I
we
writing web code?
if we use the first one, would we be able to use Angular, or do we have to use a
No,
Blazor
you need to
bit?
bring in the Blazor one because the
Okay.
first one does not have what's called a web view, and that is what we need to actually
Oh,
write
and
in
that's what we
this.
have to have. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So we can do the
Let's
Maui Blazor thing, and
do it.
it's just so quick.
Did
And
it happen?
we can,
Did it
yeah, it's
make it?
already done. Yeah, see that? Yeah, right
What?
here,
What?
template successfully. Yeah, it's super
Oh,
quick. Yeah,
you didn't give it a name. What did it call it?
it just calls it whatever is the name of the folder. I mean, you
Gotcha.
can do a .NET new and then give your app a certain name. Hold on, VS Code is looking very confused.
It's looking at you like, you want me to do what now?
All right, that's a little better. All right. So this is what's called a Maui app, right? So it is absolutely a .NET app. It's running on
But how
.NET
do you say
6.
it properly? Because it's like a Maui Blazor hybrid app, right? Like how what do
Yeah,
you
yeah. But I mean, the app bootstrapping is Maui, which is all native. There is no web stuff here, right? So this is
okay.
how the app kind of starts up. You can see some squigglies, and for some reason, VS Code is not letting me reduce the zooming so I can get rid of some of those things. But you can still kind of see, maybe. Hold on, if I can
Your
now.
doc. Yeah, Spindle's saying your doc is giving me eye strain. Are is it as small for you as it is for us?
It
This is
is,
some
and
tiny icons.
in fact, when I am just by myself and not screen sharing, my resolution is like the native MacBook resolution, which is very small. So I like my real estate. What can I say? All right. So this is how a Maui app starts up. It's saying, "Hey, Sassy, I have the hypothesis Maui will be known as Web Viewer Launcher Framework." Yes, yes. If that's what people want to do, then Maui is happy to give you a web view. But
Oh.
here's the thing, like because Maui starts up as a native app, you have access to all types of native APIs, which you normally wouldn't from a web view. So the only thing here that's different is it's signing up a few things, registering a few things, and it's giving you this web view. And if you look at the XAML, this is the thing that Ed and all other folks who do web stuff don't like to look at. This is a way in which we write visual trees in .NET, in WPF or UWP or WinUI, and it gets a little verbose, right? So people don't like it. I get it. I'm old. I'm cool with
Listen,
this.
this looks fine to me, and also you were the one wanting to get rid of closing tags. So how could you even stand by XAML when you're like this HTML closing tag is just too much? I can't even. Like,
Well, we have tools that help, right? If I wanted to animate, for example, a piece of UI that's written in XAML, I don't have to handwrite the whole thing. Visual Studio helps me out. I do have an 8K
Fritz
display.
is making fun of you.
Yeah, well, my ultra wide is 8K, but if I plug that in too long in my MacBook Pro, my office is going to get on fire. It's just too many pixels to ship, and the GPU is
We
like
gotta
I
get you like a really big AC unit or something to run with it.
or some folks like Richard Campbell, or there's actually a guy in the .NET Maui team who there's a way to bring in cooling from outside, so your towers, your computers stay cool. So we need
Oh
some of
my
that. But
gosh, that's
the standard issue
funny.
MacBook Pro, it's a laptop. It's not meant to have that kind of cooling. But desktops you can kind of get a little inventive.
S- So you showed us showed us this
Just
web
two lines.
view, and then you showed us
Yep.
the are both needed to like initiate the web view because
Yes,
there's
yes.
like a
So what
method
what
being
this one
called
is,
here.
yeah. So this one is essentially like almost like dependency injection. It's saying, hey, I need this service that I can instantiate a web view for you. And
Okay.
once that is done, we are coming to the first page of our app. And this is all XAML. This is all native stuff, and I can write more native stuff right here. But if a web developer is coming in, let's say writing Blazor or Angular, they don't need to look at any of this stuff. All they need is this one little guy, Blazor Web View, which
Uh-huh.
is absolutely the web view as you can envision.
So
So,
we have this web view, and then we have a root components inside of that.
yep.
And then
So,
is it
well,
like bootstrapping
yeah,
like an
exactly.
app
Yeah, exactly. So, but
file?
before we get to the app, what it's doing here, this web view is actually kind of smart. So it is aware of what OS you're running on, right? So if you run this on Windows, you get what's called Web View 2, which is the latest Edge web view. If you run in this on Mac, then you get what's called the WK web view, which is the Safari web engine thingy. If you run it on iOS, I forget what it's called, maybe WebKit. And then if you run it on Android, so it renders the web view that is native to that platform that you're running on, right? Makes sense.
You had a
And then,
couple questions.
yeah,
Codephobia was asking, does Maui use the default browser still, making cross-browser compatibility a thing in your app?
So Maui will use whatever browser you have installed, and which is actually one of the benefits over Electron, that it actually, you're not shipping the browser with it. So you're depending on the user to have a latest Chromium-based engine or whichever browser it is that you are running it on.
Okay.
So yeah, the browser component, like if you have a user who doesn't have any browsers installed, then this thing is going to fall flat on its face because it's going to look
Will
for
it? Like, what would happen? Would it just be like, no?
yeah, it's going to crash because it doesn't have a web view. It doesn't have any browser to go fall back on, right? So
Okay.
the Blazor web view, even though it's called the Blazor web view, it actually has nothing to do with Blazor. It's just a web view that knows how
And
to render the right web view.
the other Maui app way of making
The other
Maui
Maui app.
with like just .NET.
Oh, the regular .NET, yeah.
It's never going to have a web view.
No.
Like it'll
Do you want
never.
to see it?
It'll never.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah, I want to see it.
So that is, let's say, which one can I show you? Maui 11. Okay, let's do another, just a regular app, like a Hello World app. Maui 11, if I do bring that up, you're going to see that it starts up the same way, but it doesn't have any web views. So this is a CS project. Don't leave the info plist or delegate anything like that. So this is how this Maui program looks like. Notice that it has no dependencies. It has no web view, nothing. And then if you look at main page.xaml, if I can minimize this, this is all XAML. There is no web view. Do you see that? So this is just like a label, a grid, or a button, everything that is XAML specific. Right? This has
Could you
web views.
use this stuff in the other one?
Yeah, there's nothing stopping me from starting with this template and just rendering a web view right here. But then I need to register that web view when the app launches. Like right here, I need to say builder, add that web view as a service.
Okay. Very cool.
All right. So back in, where were we?
How do you run them? Do you just say .NET run?
Yes. But there is a target framework that you need to give it. So we were in, hold on, we were in Maui.
Target framework. Are you talking about Blazor framework?
No, I'm talking about my cheat sheet here. So these are the commands.
I like your cheat sheet.
When you are on Visual Studio, you don't need the cheat sheet because you can just hit F5 or that little green button, and then it knows how to do the build, and you can choose which platform you want to deploy to. But on Mac, we do have some VS Code support. VS for Mac is going through a big refresh, so support for Maui isn't there yet. It's been worked on. So this is how you do a build. And essentially you're saying run this on iOS or run this on Android, run this on Mac, right? That's what you get.
What about for Windows? Do you just say run?
No, there's a window. These are essentially the targets. There's a Windows target here as well.
Oh, you're saying Windows is not very popular? I thought everybody's making desktop apps with Maui for Windows.
Of course they are. No. It's just like when I'm on Windows, I don't need those commands, so I just don't have it listed. So what?
Because you're using.
Yeah, I'm
the button.
And actually, once the hold on, where's my app? I closed VS Code. This is the Maui 11. So hold on, I'm going to close this.
So you can run those .NET bits for like iOS or whatever, even if you're on like.
Yep, exactly. Sorry, my phone kind of fell from a little.
Does it look like does it like fake it out? So like, does it like have like a little mini view where it's like, look now on your Android, like?
No, you won't be able to tell.
Oh, you can't? Oh, okay.
No, you can't tell.
I couldn't remember what it was called, Aztec. It's the button that you press in the thing, and it's green, and it lets you press play. And it's
you see this? There is a little bit of stuff here in the CS proj that says where am I running? You see these target frameworks. So that's what I'm running, Net 6 iOS or Net 6 Mac Catalyst, and this one essentially is called Windows, right? So you don't need to write the Windows one because you're normally on Visual Studio and it does it anyways. So this one's doing a first build and it's thinking for a second. It's going to eventually come back.
Is it doing it?
Yeah.
It's very hard to know what's happening.
It's hard to know because like this one's still on .NET. Then eventually it's going to go talk to Xcode, which you kind of saw it for a glimpse. and then it's going to do an M launch where it goes to Xcode, does the native app package build, comes back with an app package, and then it tries to find the simulator, and then it launches your app, right?
So
So it's trying to do
with
all of that.
a Maui desktop app that's kind of Blazor hybrid-y that gives us this web view, inside of that web view, that's where we would get to do Angular bits, but our whole app is still going to be running, like Maui is still going to be responsible for like running and building this app, right? Like it's not
Yes.
going to be dependent on the Angular CLI to
Yes.
run
Okay.
it. That
And
would be
you're
confusing.
getting to you're getting to an interesting distinction here, right? So what we did was well, actually the app is launching, so I'm going to show you that. So you get
Oh,
the
did
.NET
it
splash
work?
screen.
Did it happen?
Yeah,
Is this
it's trying. It's doing its
a lot of
best.
text? Why is it yelling at us?
No, it's just all the logging. All right. So if I didn't tell you, and if you had done any Blazor, this looks like a Blazor app because it is. Because if you looked back into our view here in my code, there wasn't anything. There were no other visual elements on this app, on this page, except for the Blazor web view. So the entire app, entire viewport is taken over by the web view, right? So this
Okay.
is the whole Blazor app that's now running inside of an iPad or an Android or desktop
If
or
you
whatever, right?
started building something like right next to that web view, like a sibling to it,
Hmm. Like
would your
right,
app
right
crash
next to
because it
you.
doesn't have, yeah, like on line 7, if you were like, here's
Yeah.
my grid, like would
No,
it
no, no, no.
handle it or
Yeah, it doesn't
oh,
care.
okay.
It's just a visual tree, and Blazor WebView is one more UI component. In fact, I can show you one where we mix and match native and web stuff. But by
Okay.
default, this is the mode where people don't have to write a lot of XAML. So you get a giant web view, and you do. This is all Blazor, right? This entire thing is all Blazor, and it's running. Hold on, I was going to say something. You had asked me a question about. I'm forgetting what you had just asked.
Oh,
I'm
are we talking
sorry.
about where with Angular running and like
Oh,
who's
yes, absolutely. So
doing
here
it?
is a key distinction between Blazor and Angular, and that's a great question. So Blazor is C# and .NET, right? So when you
Yes.
forget about desktop, when you run Blazor and on the web, your runtime is .NET, right? You're running on top of .NET. When you run Maui on desktop or mobile, your runtime is .NET, and they both happen to be .NET 6 at this point. So when you
Okay.
bring in Blazor, like for example, this index.razor, these are all Blazor syntax. This is C# essentially written for iOS, Android, or Windows or Mac. It is nice because now your Blazor code can live side by side, like web code can live side by side with .NET desktop code, and you can share components, you can do all of those things. But the Angular story is a little different because Maui, unlike Electron, does not have anything to do with Node.js. It's just running on .NET, right? So there is no concept of Node.js. So there is no concept of bootstrapping an Angular app. The Angular app has to be compiled. Otherwise, it just doesn't know what to do with it, if that makes sense. So let me
Yeah.
show you that,
Yeah.
actually. Let me show you that. So we're going to go into Maui Angular, right? And let me show you what that app does. So in here, when you start with the Blazor app, you got that web view, right? But here I have done one more trick in here. So everything is being served up from www.root. And if you did Blazor, then you're looking at that main component, which is this like main.razor thing, which has the Blazor routing in it. And this one still has the Blazor web view. If I look at main page XAML, it is still the web view, right? But what I'm saying here is do not use the Blazor's in the default app that comes up, right? So don't do
Yeah.
the routing, don't do the Blazor root component, don't load up anything Blazor. Simply go look at www index, right? Now, there is a key thing that I've done here, which looks a little different. This is the index file that you get with Blazor, which is all the doc type, the head, and which is all the bootstrap, all the Blazory things. And this div is the thing where the whole app loads up. But we're not using that index file. Instead, we are using this index file. So what is this? This
Mm-hmm.
turns out to be the Angular index file, right? So when I did the Angular CLI app, we went into distribution, we did an ng build. this is what we got. We got the HTML, we got a bunch of CSS and polyfill and these things, right? So I can copy all of that down into my www root, which is where I serve up my static assets from. And I'm saying, instead of doing the Blazor index HTML, which is all the Blazor stuff, why don't you go and render this index HTML, right? So this
Where
is
are you saying that? Where are you pointing it at that index?
I'm pointing it to right here.
Oh, I see.
So it is the Blazor web view, but like I said, the Blazor web view has nothing to do with Blazor. It is a web view. It doesn't care what you give it, right?
Does this work? What?
Let's look at it. So it is just just switching out what index HTML.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. So like in a really cool, fun world, I could have this like build process where I have like my normal Angular app and then I take its beautiful building bits and then shove it inside of a web view, right? Like in this case. And then I package and ship it. Is it going to work? Is it going to? Hopefully. I'm scared.
Fritz is asking, could you change that from a Blazor web view to just a web view? Yes. Yeah, we could.
Oh.
So Angular app, again, without any of the Chrome, because we gave the web view the entire space to kind of do its thing. So now you get the Angular app. So this works. And then
Fritz is confusing me. You're saying you can just take the word Blazor off? I thought it had to say
what he's referring to is you can actually just use the web view. You don't need to use the Blazor web view, right? So the web view will render the web view. I think the web view will also be smart enough to render the web view for on a Mac or an iOS, because the web view knows how to render web view on a Windows. But let me show you one more thing before I will show you Windows stuff a little bit. But let me show you one last thing before we switch gears to maybe Windows. Hold on, I'm forgetting. I wanted to show you the Angular Kendo thingy. So let's do Maui Angular Kendo. And we do the same iOS build. So what does this one have? This is the same app that I showed you with the Kendo barcode. So I've essentially done an ng build. So I have the
Are there any downsides to this? Like, why wouldn't you just do this all the time?
For Blazor, there is really no downside, because I mean, this is not hurting anybody. You're running on the same runtimes. You're sharing code. This is a little hackish if you think about how we are bringing in Angular or React. We are taking a
why is it? It's only hackish because we haven't made our build system do it automatically for us, right? Like if we actually had it to where it was like, okay, every time I make a change to this Angular app, it builds and puts it over here
and puts it over in that.
Isn't that? Is this a legitimate way? Because I'm like, I should teach everybody to do this.
I will tell you this. So in the US, we only have a handful of big, phone providers. So it's a handful. I'm not going to take their name, but they are a customer of Microsoft and us, and they are doing exactly this. They have heavy investments into Angular, and they are trying to ship everything into a Maui app through CI/CD.
I am so excited. This is the coolest thing ever. I just want you to tell me before I go shout it to the rooftops if I'm going to look like a fool, Sam, because people tend to make fun of me when I start saying things. So I love this.
But do you see this is a component? This is a Kendo component, also just fine within our wrapped up thing.
My. So, the doors, the Maui doors you have unlocked, sir.
Let me try to get to what Fritz is saying, and this is the point where Ed tells me that the lights might flicker on your side because I'm running a VM. It's fine. It's not that bad. The fans keep on coming.
Very sweet. You're very sweet, Fuel. You need to deploy a new version of the app to the App Store each time you change your app versus deploying to the web.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Fritz, I mean, this is the game, right? No matter what. Like if you want to be on the App Store, that's the game. So whether I'm doing it with something like Ionic or whether I'm throwing it into Maui, like this seems like we're not going to get away from that, right? Like, I mean, because I feel like not everybody can just say, put it on the web, right? Like some people have to have native solutions, I think. Maui doors. Yeah. Sam is opening the hashtag Magic Maui doors.
Best of both worlds, PWA. Sindel, yes and no, right? So you can do PWAs, but you need to know what you're doing. You are restricted in the browser sandbox. You cannot do very many native things, and your monetization model isn't the same as going to the app stores, right? So it's give and take, and it's whatever works,
Are you
for
gonna
the
run
app.
our app on here? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, why not? Because I couldn't run a Windows app on a Mac. So here's the same exact app, right? But what I've done here is just copied over the Angular files, just to
Yeah.
kind of show you. Like it's desktop. It's the same code that works on Mac, desktop, iOS, Android, which is nice.
This makes me think
Uh,
that you could just do, like, you wouldn't need to use Blazor, you wouldn't need to use Angular. You could just point your web view at an index file and start,
Oh, you
like,
want to see
right?
that?
Like,
No, absolutely, absolutely. You don't need to use
okay.
this is just flexibility for the devs, right? You
Yeah.
get to do whatever
Yeah.
you want. So this is the same app, right? I have the Blazor Web View component turned off, so I want you to render this index HTML, which happens to be all the main and the polyfill and all the stuff. So now I can just run this thing on my Windows machine. Yeah, maybe Visual
He's gonna
Studio.
do
I'm
it.
back.
How do you do it?
It's
Or you press play? I don't know what's happening. Tell us what's happening.
it paused for a second, but no, it's it started the build. You can see it down here in the corner. It's Tuesday
Oh,
for Visual
okay.
Studio as
It's
well.
really hard to get used to the GUI because I, like, whenever you pull up the, terminal and you start typing .NET Run, like, I feel very comfortable. I'm like, okay, we
Yeah,
can do
yeah.
this. And then you start, like, with the drop downs and the buttons. I'm like, oh God, I'm never gonna remember
Here's
this.
the good thing. What you're doing with command line is the same thing that we are doing through the buttons, right? So Visual Studio uses the same command line tools to fire up a lot of the builds and all the things that you do. NuGet packages management, all of that can be now done either
Okay,
in
Ryan.
Package Manager
Did it
or
run?
GUI.
Is this it? Did it
Yeah,
happen?
yeah.
Oh
So
my God. I'm gonna make
Windows desktop app
all Windows
running
desktop
Angular
apps. Oh
Cli.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
So nothing
Ah,
fancy about this, right?
so excited. I have so many Angular
So
apps that I just kind of want to plump into a Maui
yeah,
wrapper.
why
What do I
not?
call it?
Now, you can call it a Maui wrapper. Then let me show you what Fritz was referring to, because you don't need to do the Blazor web view, and this is actually true. Excuse me, for enterprises. Not everybody has the luxury of starting up a greenfield app. They have investments in like older desktop technologies, like Windows or WPF or WinForms. So, do they have to start everything from scratch just to get the benefits of Maui? No, they don't. If you are not looking forward to some of the newer APIs that Maui brings to the table, if you just want to plop in some web content, then just do it in your desktop app. So this is a old school WPF app, but it started with
It is.
framework, but now it's running on. Yeah, it's an old school. If I
What?
show you the
Show
CS
us
proj,
all. Oh my gosh, how cool.
excuse me.
It WP.
Where is my project?
Never
How can I
got to
get to
see
my
a
project?
WPF app before. This is exciting.
Really? How
Yeah,
do I see
seriously.
the project properties? Hold on. Where is my CS proj? Visual
I don't
Studio.
know why,
No,
but
I'm
everybody wants you to rap. They say now you're a Maui rapper, so
the Maui wrapper is good, but the Maui wrapper is like
no,
for some
no,
reason I
you
cannot.
are the Maui rapper. Like,
Oh, I'm
Witcher,
not gonna
Witcher,
wrap.
I'm rapping and I'm Sam. That's what they want you to do. The people, they want a Maui rap.
No, that's not what I want.
Wait, what is this view? You can't just be
I
opening
am.
all these cool views and not
Oh, that's
explaining
that's
them.
just the properties of the project itself, like how it's running. Um, and I cannot find the CS proj for some reason, which is weird. Because normally it says right here, like edit the project file itself. For some reason, it's not showing me. But granted, like this is a WPF app, but what I was trying to show you was the runtime is actually .NET 6. So this is what Fritz was referring to. You don't need to say Blazor Web View. You can just say Web View or Web View 2. In this one, it's particularly Web View 2 because we are on Windows. We know that is the Web View component we want. So this one here doesn't even have any web
Oh,
code. We are just simply pointing it to a URL, and this will be fine. This may be the like the lowest hanging fruit to bring in some web stuff. You can just point to a URL. This is a desktop app,
so
right?
Where did
but
this web
it's
view originate? Was it like a originally like a .NET thing, and then
no WebView is
how long
all
have you had
Chrome.
a web view? Oh, wait, what?
Forever, for since Edge came along.
Forever.
So this is hold on, View 2. This is since Edge switched over to Chromium. So this is the web view we're talking about. It's a standalone thing. You can just get it for yourself and just like start, embedding this inside of your apps. It's just a runtime as well as the Chromium engine that Chrome or that
That's kind
Edge
of the
uses.
confusing part because didn't you or somebody who was teaching me say that Maui is using a .NET runtime or something, but now all of a sudden there's a WebView runtime, and it's very
No, the
confusing.
web view is not. Well, this is separate. This is the runtime for the web view, but Maui is not using this. Maui is just using WebView 2 as just one of the web views that it renders,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Is there
All
a
right.
good place, like, can you show me the doc, like, is there Maui docs that says, and here are the 12 web views, like, or is that not?
Uh, no,
No, not
because these
no.
are the Maui talks, and this is in the works. So I know the Maui folks very very well, and they're trying, but the reality is they're having to bring in a lot of stuff that was in the Xamarin world, bring it over to the Maui world.
Do
So
these
this
docs
one
talk
doesn't
about
have.
WebView at all?
I don't think they do. So
Okay,
this is a little bare bones for now, but it's getting up to speed. They're starting to address some of the when you start actually building an app, what are the UI components you need? How do you do data binding? How do you do routing? That's the kind of stuff they're getting into, and
gotcha.
you will soon see the other stuff.
The
There are
arcade was
13
saying,
web
no, no,
views.
no,
Yeah,
13, not 12.
there are four primary
There's
ones.
four.
Okay,
Yeah, there's
iOS,
four. Okay,
Android.
wait. There's
Yeah, there's
the
four.
Blazor one. There's WebView.
That's four.
WebView two.
No. So Blazor WebView is
Like
just
what?
a wrapper. The Blazor WebView just renders one of these four primary ones.
Wait.
Got it?
You're saying? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You're saying there's a WebView for each platform?
Pretty much, yes. Each
Okay.
platform has its own browser and they have their own web view.
I
So
gotcha.
Maui
I'm
is
with
just
you.
saying, can you give me a web view that works on this platform? And it does, right? So here, since we know that we're running on Windows, we could explicitly say WebView 2, but I could also
Mm.
say Blazor WebView and it's going to render WebView 2, right? So that's definitely an option. Um, oh,
Oh
the
my
other thing I
goodness.
wanted to show you.
Maui, I'm sorry, but Maui's like the coolest thing. I don't know why people are knocking it. It's like so
No,
cool.
they're not. They're not knocking it.
People
It's
are
just like some
knocking
of.
Sam.
All right. I don't know if Fritz is still in the house, but remember this thing that keep going back to. There is a little bit of history that we are sitting on Windows stack in particular, right? So people are saying, Maui, okay, it's a new thing. Let's wait and watch and see where it goes in 4 years. No, Fritz, you never saw this. Just as we're going to cut it out. You never saw me showing this, but yeah, there is a little bit of skepticism with Maui, but it's really taking the best of all the things we have learned in the last like 5 6 years of doing cross-platform dev and making it work everywhere.
It sounds so cool. I'm really, really excited now to go and use this. That, and I really want to try using the native one, like, and writing my own Xamaly bits.
All right, so to your point, no, and full Schnabel WPF is not abandoned. That was just like somebody's views on Twitter, and Alyssa always has a hard time, like, what history am I sitting on? So I wanted to show you, like, there is like 20
People
years of
have
history
people have
that she's
thoughts and
sitting on.
opinions, and they all get very confusing. So that chart was very helpful. But Fuel saying that WPF, I don't think it's been abandoned. I feel like
No, it's
people
going
love it
super
still,
strong. Yep.
right? Yeah.
In
Okay. Cool.
fact, that is the way most enterprise desktop apps are written right now with .NET. So here's an example. This may or may not work because I have this is an older app, but here's an example where I have a content view and then I have a whole bunch of native stuff, right? See that label, that button? Those are all native buttons and labels on iOS, Android, Windows, or Mac. And then I have the
Mhm.
web view, right? So I can mix and match native code with web code.
If you want to look up, is this one of those? It's not documented, but if you want to, or like, is it documented? Like, if you want to go and look up like a native, like this button or this label, like, where do you find those pieces? Are there like
Oh, now
XAML
that's a good question. That is a great
docs. How do
question.
you find
That's where you come to these docs, okay? And this has changed a little
those?
bit. Yes, let me show you. Um, where do we start? Fundamentals, maybe app startup.
You guys send me a link.
Yeah,
Docs.microsoft.com.
you just do
Because
a
I get
search on .NET Maui. This is where you're
okay.
going to land up on.
Okay.
User interface.
Are you
I'm
sure
trying
this
to
is where
find.
we would look? There's not some sort of XAML docs or
Well,
some
there
sort
are
of
XAML docs, like XAML forms are the docs to go look at. But I'm trying to find like one image. Maybe I'll just look for it where I know I've used it in the past. So, folks, if you're looking for Maui news, I do a little newsletter every Monday. It's called Sands of Maui, and I just wanted to show you like one image on what it is. So this is what the underlying structure of all things Maui looks like. When you say, give me a button or give me a label, give me a list view, give me a grid, this is what Maui is doing under the covers. There's an interface that's called a handler that recognizes that, oh, you're trying to run this on iOS. Let me go talk to the mapper that knows how to render a button handler, how to
yeah.
render, the UI
Yeah.
button versus the app compat button or the Windows button or, the Mac button, and it gets you
Right.
that mapping so you can render that thing out natively at runtime. So this
You
is the
know
underlying
how
architecture.
it like it's essentially like you said, it's mapping these for these different technologies. Is there a dist folder for each one of them that you can like go and open and see that I button that was created? You see what I'm saying? Like, no,
It's
there's
it's
not a
part of the framework itself. So you're never going to see this code until you
okay.
actually have a desire to change something. So for example,
Oh.
when I render a button, it's going to make that button look like a native button on iOS or on
Mhm.
Android or on Windows.
Right.
But let's say I am Facebook. I am writing an app which I want it to look the same everywhere, right? So I get to customize, I get to override the native look and feel to make it all material or all Facebooky, right? So my app looks like my app on every platform. So you can customize every one of the UI components. And this is actually one of the pain points that we had with Xamarin Forms. This customization of UI was a little complicated. We used to have this thing
Mm.
called renderer. Now it's all handlers. It makes it a little easier for you to customize the native look and feel if you wanted to.
So handler is just like a term that is basically doing the dividing up. So because each platform has their own version or their own.
Yes, handler is
Okay.
well. You don't care about any of these things like in your everyday Maui stuff, right?
In your
So
everyday Maui.
yeah, because I mean you're just like rendering UI components. Like if I go into Fritz is being funny. Like Web3 is dead. Yes, uh, but so many things you can see how the
Yes.
social media works us up.
Fritz, you
So
gotta
here,
ping us before you tweet that. We wanna be there for the show. We wanna watch the chaos happen.
oh, this was the view I was looking for. Views, images, user interface. Where are the fundamentals? All right, hold on. I'm going
Because
to look
whenever I
into.
was first trying to get started with Maui, that was something I was really struggling was like finding just basic elements and like how like what elements I have available to me. Like
Right,
obviously I
right.
know there's like a button and there's going to be an input, but I didn't know the syntax of that because I've never done anything in .NET. So
Yep,
it
yep.
seems like there's just like this base knowledge that everybody has, and I'm like,
Mhm.
where are you getting this from?
Well,
Like,
age.
why
Age
do you
is how
all
we
know
get it.
this?
Age is how we get it because we have been doing this for a while. So I'm showing you docs that are Xamarin Forms docs. So this is the kind of
Confused.
stuff that has
Okay.
not come over yet to Maui, but this has a listing
Wait, you're
of,
saying you can't type these things out? Or you can?
you
You
could
can't.
if you're doing Xamarin Forms, because that is the production ready version of this. Maui is not ready to ship yet. When it will, Maui docs will also have a list of all the UI components and all the things.
Oh, okay.
But right now, the production ready version here, which is Xamarin Forms, it has a list of all the XAML that you need that you can render that's abstracted, labels and lines and images and maps and, it's like 40, 50 plus controls, and plus there's all the controls that folks like us make at Telerik or Tinder
Right.
UI.
Yeah.
So it's all listed, and this will all be in the docs for you to kind of get started easily. But the docs for Maui are being worked on
Well,
right now,
because
so
the
it
way
doesn't have
that
anything.
I imagined it was like I can just go to these Xamarin Docs and like take that ellipsis or the progress bar and then start typing that in my Maui app.
Yep.
And it should
Yep.
work, or it won't
Yep.
work
It
because
should
you're
work.
saying I have to be in some sort of magical Xamarin app.
No. It Xamarin has nothing to do with Maui. So you will go here, and you can see they're starting to put some stuff out there, but they just don't have all the list of all the controls. They have some,
Okay.
like you can see the views, the Blazor web views right there, border, frame, and that's about it, because they don't have all of those things listed yet, but it will eventually. And so all of your controls will be listed, so you can just pick a control and just render it right in Maui itself.
Fritz is apologizing. Fritz, you should know most of the time you just say things and they're like way over my head.
Oh,
So don't.
Fritz, did you really say Isenium?
I'm
Oh
like,
boy,
I don't
this
know.
is
Is
this
that a
is
real
going
word? Is
back.
he making up? This is
Yes,
Fritz making up
no,
words again.
no. It was real, and we
It's
had a
real.
thing. We had a thing. So the technology industry, we sit on the the piles of dead technologies that we have seen over the years, and uh, same with Google, same with Microsoft, same with everybody. So we had things like App Builder, which was back in the days where we first tried doing like phone gap type things, where we took web stuff and we shoved it into packages and containers, made it run on iOS and Android. And that was a big thing, because like that was the first time we could write like some cross-platform code. We made a shirt that said like "I go both ways," and that was like culturally a little offensive. We got into trouble, but we did that thing. And then Icenium was an IDE. So all of that is behind us, because
Mm.
think about it. Like if you're wanting to write web stuff, right? You are pretty much like you have the tools to write a native app and still render the web stuff. Like why would you just write a plain hybrid app anymore, where you can get the benefits of all the things that Maui can bring to the table, all the things that Electron can bring to the table. So
I Mike
things have
is saying
evolved.
that he loves the idea of Maui, but doing Xamarin again put him in the fetal position. And Fuel was
Yeah,
saying you only need to learn enough to get the web view open. But
exactly.
I really don't understand. And I think it's because I just wasn't there for it. This hate
It
for the XAML.
gets all right.
It looks
Hold
like
on, darling.
SVG. It looks like writing SVG inline, if we're being real honest. And I'm not afraid of that. So I don't really know what the hubbub is about. What's the hubbub? It looks like a fancier version of HTML. I don't know. What do you want?
It is HTML, but this might take me a while, because again, it's an older project. But let's see if I can pull it up. So there is
Oh, are
some
you gonna show us? You've got XAML bits. Are you gonna show us the bits?
there's some truth to what Mike and then those folks are saying. XAML gets no, Visual Studio. I don't want you to update right now. And go away. Go away. Close.
Yeah, see, like that back there, like stroke color, stroke started, cleared. This just looks like
Yep.
SVG. Yeah,
All right.
it's fine.
Here
This is
I'm
fine.
showing you an app that is
Oh my
all
god, I'm so
Xamarin
excited.
Forms, right?
Yeah.
A massive app. This is actually our sample app for Xamarin, right? If you're on iOS or an Android or a Windows device, you can go to the App Store. You can search for Telerik. This is the app that you're going to find. This is written in Xamarin Forms, and here's the source code. And this is a real world app with
Oh my
literally
god, yes.
hundreds of views, hundreds of view models, lots of behaviors, bindings, lots of things going on. And you can see like the XAML just scrolls and scrolls. And this is not even like a very intensive view. So this is what Mike or other folks who are scared or don't want to touch XAML. This is what they're talking about. It is very
Mm,
verbose. You need to know what
mm,
you're doing in XAML land, otherwise you very
yeah,
quickly shoot yourselves in the foot. Like
I
for
could see
example,
that.
a grid.
Yeah.
A grid has rows and columns, and you need to define each row or each column to have its own content, and that's kind of how you kind of like
Can
that grid
these?
dot row is telling
Yeah.
me to put it in the first row versus second column and so on. So it gets a little
Can these
verbose.
be? See how you have like light and then dark? Can these be variables, or do they have to be inline bits?
I'm not following. What do you mean?
Line 181, where it's looks like there's like a light attribute. 0, 0, 0, 0.
This one.
Can those be can those be variables or do they have to be inline?
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is just sample code. I'm not even sure what we are doing here, but I can run this for you if you want. And start with our debugging.
Oh yeah, because there's one that says light, white, dark, default. So I'm assuming those are variables.
So we are actually reading what Apple or what Android is telling us in terms of what the user's selected profile is, and then we can just do a switch between light theme and dark theme. XAML does support closed. Yes, it does, but for a label, I can close it, but for everything else, and this is what it gets a little verbose. Like a grid will be like 500 lines long before you see the closing tag. So what it's doing right
is
now,
it running?
this is,
What's happening?
It's coming, or no? It's still
is it?
trying.
How do you know? I'm very confused by these views.
Never know it's so this is actually a full-on app. This has thousands of lines of XAML in it, lots and lots of views, but it's a very sophisticated app. So this is actually a list of all the Xamarin Forms controls that we have, and Maui actually has a similar app now. It's being worked, but right here I can just like switch dark mode to light mode. We read what the app theme is. Yeah.
So when you're scrolling, and you've got like this list view or something in your XAML, is that content view that you're like? Do you know which element it is that's scrolling? Just curious.
Yeah, everything is a content view unless you choose to start with a different type of a view. So the content view is just a standard.
Because you're just not feeling content view that morning.
Yes. So hold on. Now these are the Maui docs. Let me go show you. So this is what you start with in a XAML page. This is going to be hard to read. Okay. No, this is too much zoomed in. Hold on. So when you're starting up a new page, right, you get a choice of one of these things. It can be a content view, which is just a page. It's empty. Or you can do a master detail, or you can do a nav page, or a tabbed page, or a templated page. So you get some things to start off with. And then inside the pages is where you have your layouts. So this is, again, why XAML gets confusing. So the page is your master container. Inside that, you have layouts. Layouts are like your grids or your stacks. So again, take a look at the layout options here. You can do stack layout, absolute layout, relative layout, grid layout, flex layout, frame, scroll view.
Oh my
so many
gosh,
options.
this is so cool. I need to read all the Xamarin docs. It looks like that's where all the coolness is at.
Once you select a layout, then you go into a view, which is all of the little itty-bitty pieces of the UI, like an image.
Mike said this stack view is his jam. Was that one of them?
Yes, stack view is very, very powerful if you know how to use it. So this is like stack layout and grid are two of the most common layouts used in.
Now, when you say grid, do you mean CSS grid or do you mean a different grid that is not the CSS grid?
I mean a regular grid with data in it. So I can go back.
Wait, really?
No, I mean a grid. Not
now I'm
not,
very lost with your terminology. Because the other one, there's grid, and then right next to it is flex layout. So I'm assuming they're talking about.
Oh, in terms of the layout. No, I thought you meant like this data grid. This is just a grid.
Yeah.
Like to show data.
This is the problem. Okay, everybody keeps throwing around the word grid
in our industry. Yes, terminology is a problem. Everybody uses the same thing. So I actually haven't used.
Yeah, that's the question. Is flex layout based on Flexbox?
Yes, that is. But this grid has nothing to do with CSS grid. The flex layout is based on flex, but this is just a
come on, really? Oh, confusion overwhelms us, Sam.
Yes, flex layout is based on Flexbox.
Can you click on grid? Does it take you into it, or is it like a scrolling? Oh, it's an image. Never mind.
It's just an image.
Never mind. Okay.
So if you did a grid, where is it? Multiple children grid. So grid positions things like rows. Yep. So it is similar in concept to a CSS grid, but again, I don't know much about the CSS grid, so who am I to speak? So if I look at the API docs, no, these are confusing. So maybe we go look at the guide sample. So your grid has like rows and columns pretty much, and then within a
Have some
grid,
auto
like the
start.
rows and
Okay.
columns can be, and these things are super powerful and super confusing in XAML. Because what a star means is use the leftover height or a leftover width, right? And then that behaves
Oh,
differently based on if you're
I
on an
think I've
iPad
seen some
versus
people.
iPhone.
Yeah, I think I've seen people do that actually.
Yeah,
Throw in
yeah,
a star.
yeah.
They're just gonna, yeah.
The grade, the grade is a lie. I
Great as
mean,
a lie.
that if there is one thing you want to take away from this stream, like let that be that one line. The grid is a lie.
The grid is a lie. Yeah, for sure. There you go. Or the way of life. I mean, one or the other. We're either
Yeah,
gonna live
well,
by it or we're going to die by it.
yeah.
But this
So
has been awesome, Sam.
what I'm telling
I
you
am
is
so excited.
you have options, right?
I
There is
think
no silver
Maui is
lining.
like, it seems like Maui's way more ready than people, because you just showed us all these magical bits. I mean, I feel like it's, what more
Uh,
could you want?
no. So, darling, hold on, because Aztec
Did you just
Consulting
say
is
no?
in the chat room. So there is this
Fight
thing
me.
called workloads, right? And
Workloads? Never heard of
uh,
it. How can you miss
oh,
something you've never heard of?
so what is it? List? Yes. Okay. So with Maui, you get this concept of workloads, which are meant to be the SDKs for each application type or platform that you're trying to reach. So you can, well, actually, you can do,
Are you talking about
we talked about
runtimes? Is this you talking about runtimes?
the SDK and the runtime combined is the workload, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well, and then there's parts of the runtime which are common to all platforms. So we it's funny, we talked about Tizen as a TV. What about
Yeah.
Apple TV? You can still do that. TV OS, that's very much supported. So your Apple Watches and your Apple TVs, they can all run Xamarin stuff
Oh
and eventually
man,
Maui stuff.
the power.
So these are your workloads, and this is the point of contention because we are in a bleeding edge scenario with Maui. They're working very hard towards an eventual production readiness by Q1 or Q2 of this year. So these are updating very, very quickly. So the demos that you had yesterday are going to start failing because the runtimes and the workloads are updating very, very quickly. So you need to have everything in sync. And tooling, when you say Maui is looking good, if you're on Windows, Maui is looking very, very good because Visual Studio is there to help. But on Mac, the tooling is not so great because we are doing a lot of like hackish things with command line, and VS Code kind of has support, but not really. And VS for Mac is getting a full refresh. So things are a little slow going.
I feel like
Command line
if
is
it's hackish, I feel like the Maui docs should just kind of like point to the Xamarin docs and be like, if you don't see it here, maybe you should check over here. Like there should be some knowledge share there.
And that
Arcade
is
said, "I'll
feedback
destroy."
that has been shared. Yeah.
Listen, I do have plans, Arcade, and it does sound very similar to what you've laid out here, but we don't need to worry the people. Okay, they'll see it when it happens. Because now he's talking about tvOS and how I'm like, man, I could put every Angular app I've ever made on my watch. That's what I'm hearing from Sam.
Well, when you say Angular, I just want you to know like what you're doing. Let me see. This may or may not work.
I'm so
what I'm trying
excited.
to show you.
This is what the world needs. 2022 just got
you
so much
hyping
better.
me up too much, and then I'm going to fall flat. And none of this is reality. So when you do Blazor with Maui, it's a very natural fit because they both run on .NET. You just have to understand that when you're doing Angular or React with Maui, you have two things that don't talk the same language. So you have to have, if you wanted to have your Angular app reach into some .NET APIs or use a service that's written in .NET, then you have to have a little bridge called interop for your .NET and JavaScript to talk to each other. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. You're getting really crazy. I feel like people should live in the JavaScript world and they should live in the .NET world, but they should not interop. That's bizarre, okay?
Yes.
No.
Don't make them talk.
Can you give me an example?
It actually still does work.
Who would want
to?
Interesting. Why would they want to talk? Why are they talking
I
again?
will give you an example, and I will tell you exactly why. But let me show you this quick little thing. Remember how we said you could mix and match native stuff with web stuff? So this project still works. And if I look at my main.razor, you see that all of this stack layout, this is all XAML. So this renders as native label, native buttons, and then all of a sudden there's a web view which is rendering my my Blazor app, which is all of this. So everything under this line is all Blazor, and everything above that line is all native, right?
That's
but the good thing is you can actually have mix and match. But I've shown this demo multiple times. But this button here, so this is to some of the things we said, the power of desktop. Like, what can you do on desktop when this Maui app runs on desktop? What makes it feel like it's a desktop app? Well, can you do all the desktopy things like using more processes, using more memory, or things like that? So when I say do something native, notice there's nothing under that. So it actually spins up this little thing. It's a notepad, which is essentially like Sublime or old school notepad. So we can say hello, Alyssa, and we can do Control S to save that file, and then I can close it, and it brings it right back. Right?
I love that so much. Is this on the internet? Can I see your code?
Yeah, I think I have it on my GitHub repo.
I have to see it. That's so cool.
Here's the code, and
gotta show us the code.
This is it, just 4 lines. And actually, this is not my code. Full disclosure: there is a gentleman named Elon Lipton, who's like a long.
I was like, Musk. Are you talking about Elon Musk? Okay,
Musk.
Not that.
Yeah. little less obnoxious, maybe. But, when you're pushing the envelope, you got to do what is right, and Elon Musk has definitely pushed the envelope.
Get temp file name file.
Here's Blazor, right? This is a Razor file, but I'm able to write pure .NET desktop code, which is like system.io. When you hit that button, it triggers this little function. So this is like code that is stolen from Elon here. I can zoom this up a little bit more.
Wait, where is it opening? Oh, because it says .start notepad.
Right here. So this is going into all of the other processes that you might have access to, and we are starting up a new process, completely new thread to say open up Notepad or any other app, write to it, and then we can read a file. What's funny? Any sufficiently advanced civilization discourse Maui plus. Yes.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is
along for the ride, though. This is so cool. Yeah. Where do you read about process, though?
Where's what?
Well, where do you read about that?
You do a search on system.diagnostics process, and you're going to be in a spiral of all the history of .NET and all the things you can do with that process.
I was just like, is this a Microsoft thing? Is this like a...
No, it is absolutely a .NET thing. This is coming from system.io. It's this namespace that it's coming from. Right?
You keep saying system like people know what that means. Nobody knows what a system is.
All right. So when you're running .NET, you have a little class, not little, a gigantic class that's called system that gives you all the system functionality. Like if you had to read a file, if you had to write something to memory, if you had to
it's like the power that console apps have too, right? Like because they have they can do all this system level. Okay,
system is a class in .NET that gives you access to system resources, essentially, right? So
I guess this is like the magical part, though, because this also works on Mac. Like, so it has access to both system types.
No, this will not work on a Mac.
Okay. You're like, please stop.
Well,
really? It wouldn't?
You're asking a very nuanced question. Like this exact piece of code is not going to work on a Mac. It's going to fall flat on its face.
Because we don't have Notepad on a Mac, or because System.io is not a thing on a Mac?
It is a thing when .NET is running on a Mac, but it depends on whether you have those mappings in place. Like what is the corresponding thing on a Mac that gives you all the system resource access, and it's not called system.io on a Mac. So this is very Windows specific, but there is a thing called hold on, I'm going to again show you something that's a little old school.
We're going to need to see your GitHub, sir, because we all want to look at that code more in detail.
There's so much. All right. So there's this thing called Xamarin Essentials. Actually, hang on. What time is it?
I'm going to write this one down. Hang on.
I have to I have to run in 19 minutes because like 3:30, kiddo comes back and all hell breaks loose
Yeah.
in
No,
the
this has
house.
been an amazing. I have learned
No,
so
no,
much. And
let's talk about this one last thing since you had asked.
yes,
Okay, so we
yes.
have a package called Xamarin Essentials. This is what we use in our Xamarin apps today, which is production ready, to get access to all the native stuff that is also abstracted. So think about it. When we are writing a Xamarin app, we are running it on iOS, Android, and other things. So we don't want to write Java. We don't want to write Swift. We don't want to write C# and .NET. So this is the abstraction that lets you get around it. So you can get to the camera, you can get to the accelerometer, and all of the like the 36 or so device APIs that you have from
Yeah.
.NET code. So when you are looking at things like writing to a thing, let's talk about this
Like
one
a
here.
file
Maybe
system. Yeah.
file system,
Where
secure storage, right? So if you need to write something to the file system, you don't just go system.io because Mac is not going to be able to understand. But if you do secure storage, then that has a mapping to what Mac can understand, to what iOS or Android can understand, right? So that's the mapping layer where, I mean, this one's just writing it out as like a key value pair, but you can actually write out files because it has like a file system access as well. I'm going to have to kind of fight around. You see
so
file system
cool.
helpers, easy to save files to app data. So this
Oh
is what
yeah,
you're going to
yeah.
use. And this is Xamarin for now. But guess what? Once Maui is ready for the ride, you just change it to Maui Essentials. They have already ported over much of this code.
Okay.
So this
Yeah,
is the
I don't remember who
abstraction.
it was. Somebody was like, replace all they're like replace all Maui something with Xamarin something, and then you'll be able to find like what you're looking for right now. So that gives me like that. I know it sounds so stupid, but that knowledge isn't out there. Like if you are brand new to .NET, you've never stepped your foot in the XAML file, it's kind of hard to find this information
It
because
is.
you're
It
just
is.
so
And
inundated with everything. So
it
I
is.
really do wish and maybe they just feel like this is like I'm curious why the Maui docs don't link to the Xamarin docs. Like
No, there is no good reason. They just don't want to cloud, the stuff that is changed between the old and the new. And
mm,
what you're describing is exactly kind of the Achilles heel problem in .NET. Like Fritz and me, we are old. We have literally sat through 20 years of history, and I suppose like Foolish Neville as well, and Aztec Consulting. But a college kid coming into .NET, they don't have all of this context. They are very confused with all this terminology. Where do I find information? Where do I
but
find
I feel
stuff?
like you just
And
kind of opened the Maui doors by showing me the Xamarin docs because now anytime there's something missing, I can just hop on
yes,
over
yes,
here and hopefully
yes.
find what I'm looking for because
So
that
between
was the rough spot. Was like not
yes,
even like how do I make a
right.
button? I don't know.
So
There's no docs for button.
between
Like
between now, which is January, and let's just say May, all right, you're
yeah.
going to find all of the relevant parts of Xamarin Forms docs brought over to Maui docs. They're working on this,
Oh,
but
cool.
it's
That's
just not done
awesome.
yet.
Aztec, yeah, I keep hearing this. I don't get it. I don't know. Maybe it'll like jump out at me. I'll be like just over here jamming, and then all of a sudden Zama will be like, "Ha, I got you." I don't know. I'm just
Well, I can give you pointers. Like try a grid with 3 or 4 rows and columns, and try
okay.
injecting content into it.
Okay.
XAML is going to come jump at you and bite you
This
if you do
actually,
one
it
step
sounds
wrong.
like such a fun challenge. We need to do it where you just watch me on stream and try to achieve what you just said. That sounds like fun.
So we started
No.
with Angular, right? Angular CLI. What I'm trying to tell you is you have some options, and the modern web views they don't care. We started with Angular, might as well be React. We can do a show
Yeah.
with Catherine where
Oh,
we bring
it's
in a React
so cool.
application into Maui. It's all good.
I'm
The
so
web views don't
excited.
care. It's just more ways to mix and match and
Man,
increase code reuse.
Sam, you're probably one of like the coolest devs I know. You did a lot of really cool stuff too. Just
You don't see my
saying.
stumbles as much, which you do actually on stream. You should come and hang out with me on Thursdays where we do a .NET Dev show, and I'm actually trying to dev with Maui. It's painful because even for
What
me, who's kind
time?
of
Hang on,
seen,
everyone's writing it down. What time are you usually?
it's at 10 a.m. Eastern on Thursdays, unless we have
10 a.m.
other
Eastern.
shows.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when you can actually see me. So this app or this newsletter, it's called Sands of Maui. I'm trying to make
Hmm.
this an app that we can put it in the store, so you don't have to come and subscribe to the newsletter. You just get it
Oh,
like a push
cool.
notification on your app. And
Yeah.
let's just say I've had to restart the app 3 times now because the Maui bits changed, and stuff that was good a month back doesn't
Oh
work anymore.
no.
Yeah,
That's
so
funny because I guess I just think because you were warning us about like these things changing and like all of a sudden it's not working. I kind of imagine though, like once you got to a stable point, you can kind of just like package that and it doesn't matter what changes. Is that true
yes,
or not
yes. The
really?
stable point is coming hopefully within a month or two, right? So once we
Oh,
get
okay.
to release candidate builds, the core stuff is not going to change anymore. Because
Oh, okay.
beyond that, you're going to have like quality issues if you change stuff. So the tooling is still rough, and that's what they're getting on.
I'm doing it Aztec. I'm so excited. Like, because whenever I first started this show, I told the guys that it was WinUI. That was the reason I started because I wanted to learn WinUI. And so I was like, everybody's like, no, you don't want to do that. And I was like, no, I want to do that. So I got on and I was like, let's do it. Let's learn WinUI. And the docs were like just not there. It was a rough go. It was a rough show.
Oh,
And so seeing this is like getting me really excited because I'm like, it's possible. I'm excited. So let's
I'm
learn
going to
some
go back.
XAML. Yeah. Pop that
I'm going to go
popcorn.
back to this again, okay? What you started with WinUI is the the team trying to do its best to not be weighed down by historical baggage, trying to take the best of UWP, trying to listen to the .NET team, and trying to do the best to salvage a situation and put up docs that matter. So
Yeah.
Maui is kind of a
This
clean cut, so they're trying to do it fresh, and we shall see. Time shall tell, but they have the right promise.
I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. You hush it, Fuel. Says.
All right, it's
Oh.
Schnavel. Electron is the future, if that's what you say. So, and this is what it is. Like, we are at liberty to do what works for us, right? And our apps. Every app is going to be different. So, do what is right for your app.
This is really cool though. I'm so thankful. Thank you for like teaching us all this amazing stuff today. You've given me hope. I feel like some people who aren't as snarky in the chat have also been given hope. So
So I'm glad to, I know I got to learn Angular. So, and Fool and Hashtag and everybody in the chat room, you keep us going. This is
yes,
fun.
you do. Thank you, chat. Well, we're off. I'm gonna go grab some late lunch, and you go grab the bebes. But
Yeah.
I seriously amazing show, Sam, and I will be on Thursday with Angular updates for Kenda UI, and then I know Catherine will be on tomorrow for some React ones. But we will see you around. Do you have Sam? You've got one Thursday as well. Do you have the
Friday.
Sands of
I get back
Maui?
on Friday.
Okay.
Oh, no, because not this Thursday, because you'll be streaming that time.
Sorry about that. That's my bad.
No worries.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. You've all been wonderful chat. We love you. Mwah.
Yeah. Thank you all.